Sport.
Past the umpire, leading edge, straight up caught and bowled.
Women's international cricket.
Shot the stumps, chance for a run out. I reckon she's gone. She cuts it away for 4 more for a backward point.
On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app.
Good morning, good evening to you wherever you're listening in from. We're not too far away from Australia taking on South Africa in the first semi-final of the Women's T20 World Cup being played in Dubai. Australia rampant through this tournament so far, the only team with a 100% record through the competition so far, and they come up against the side that they beat in the final last year in the 2023 event. Australia looking for a 7th T20 title. They have been utterly dominant throughout. However, going through this tournament, of course, they have had a few issues, notably Alyssa Healy picking up an injury. We're waiting with bated breath at the moment to see if she will line up and play. Not too far away from the toss coming up. Before we get to the toss and we have a look at what else is happening in the world of cricket as well, the Britt and Beamsy podcast is on this week. Brittany Carter and Kristen Beams were having a chat about how Australia are going at the moment and running through the course of this tournament. And, of course, the issue of Alyssa Healy and whether or not she'll play was one of the topics that they got to discussing.
If we're to rate Alyssa Healy's odds of playing again this tournament, perhaps out of 10, where are you thinking that might be at? Because we have seen her in a moon boot. We've seen her on crutches. It's an acute foot injury and she's unable to walk without assistance at the moment. So is there any chance whatsoever for her to play, or are we really just, hoping for the unachievable?
I don't know what an acute foot injury is, but I'm giving her a 9 out of 10, which I think is probably better odds than anybody else. And I think that just, for me, is the toughness. I just think that she's a player that will play through pain for the betterment of the team. I think the only consideration for her would be whether she can make the same contribution. I think that if she felt like she was going to be not able to perform her role to the level that she would want to, I think that's the one for me. But I think if it's just about whether she's going to be in pain or not, depending whatever that foot injury is, I reckon she's playing.
So with Alyssa Healy out of the game against India, we saw Vice-Captain Tali McGrath step up to lead the team. Grace Harris shifted to the top to open the batting, and Beth Mooney took the wicket-keeping gloves. Australia won this game by 9 runs. And as we love to see against India, it was another tight affair, a real classic. Did the way this game played out give you confidence that the team can still lift the World Cup again, even if Alyssa Healy is unfit to play?
Yeah, definitely. I think you just look at the team and, Tay came out of the lineup and Darcy Brown came in, and it's like, oh, yeah, not a bad understudy, I reckon, for, when you're talking about the way they want to play and have pace on the ball. The difference between the glove work of Healy versus Mooney, a Grace Harris coming in, and most people would say, look, this is a player that's probably deserved more opportunity at an international level, particularly to play in a batting role. I think so many times we've seen her come in and be in that middle phase as well. But to see her come in at the top, I think it has been really cool as well. And she plays in a similar way. They're very different players, but both Healy and Harris like to take the game on. So in terms of the style of play, Australia didn't look a lot different in that way. And keep in mind, there's also players like a Kim Garth, and you've got Alana King on the bench. So when you think about things that could happen in terms of what that team could look like before it actually hopefully gets to the point where they might be able to lift up a trophy by the end of the week, you think, actually, they're really well placed in that space because they don't have to change the way they go about it. And I think that could be really key for them at this really important stage of the tournament.
Kristen Beams chatting to Brittany Carter of the Britt and Beamsy podcast, available via the ABC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts from. Just running through, the Australian squad at the moment, and I can tell you that there will be no Alyssa Healy playing for Australia tonight. Talia McGrath still leads the side for Australia. We'll get the full details from the toss very shortly when we cross to our colleagues from the BBC. But there is no Alyssa Healy in the side for Australia tonight for this semi-final coming up in Dubai. Mentioned before, and they heard in the chat there as well, that last group stage game for Australia when they were taking on India. The closest Australia have been pushed in the tournament so far. It was a cracking game of cricket. And we can have a listen now to highlights of that match with Australia eventually winning out by 9 runs.
Women's International Cricket on ABC Sport.
It's Mooney. Chops this into his court. Corner point. Really good catch. That went really low as well. That's a fine catch, diving forward. Mooney, so often, the glue at the top of Australia's order has got to go. It goes Taku. First ball to Wareham. Tries the pad. That looks close. They've all come rushing and it's given. Well, Indian player after Indian player came rushing up to Sue Redfern there, imploring her to give that out. And I think Wareham might be about to walk off. Pressure on Australia, 17 for 2. Delight for India. Here we go. McGrath on strike and struck on the pad. It's going down. There's a semi-appeal.
Harris hits the ball down the ground. It's a lovely looking shot. It's been lofted away. It could be 6. No, it'll be 4. Just bouncing inside the ropes. Straight down the ground, though. And Grace Harris moves to 36. And it is her longest innings in international cricket now, would you believe?
Really?
In comes Deepti Sharma. Hit in the air, straight to the fielder at mid-wicket. The catch is taken and Grace Harris goes for 40. And a little bit of a look as well from Deepti Sharma. Harris, 40 from 41, very much has done her job at the top of the order.
Short, hit high in the air, fielder underneath it, should take the catch, and does! Radhi Yadav again, Gardner with the shot. It was banged in. Great bowling from fast cricket. Trianka's in again. This has gone high in the air. Out towards deep backward square. I think that may have gone all the way. It has. And that is a big hit from Elise Perry. As Dipty's in now to Perry, who hits high in the air out towards the field, who must take it and does. It's Sajana Sachifan, who has dropped for this game. She's come in as a substitute and she's taken a good shot catch, actually. Bowler! Then down the wicket, swung at it, missed. A wicket for Sri Lanka, and look at the crowd. Well, you can't see because it's the radio, but I think, let me tell you, the crowd's on its feet. It's going absolutely ballistic. Last ball of the innings, Phoebe Litchfield whacks this out over the deep backward square leg boundary for 6, and come on, mate, Australia have got to their 150. Don't they always do it to you? It doesn't matter. You think you've restricted them, you think you've got them to where you want them, and then the last ball of the innings, they can break your heart. Shoot in. This is monstered high in the air. It's going to go all the way for 6. Over, long off. 2 brilliant shots in that over from Shafali Verma. Here comes Gardner. This is driven in the air. Long on. Takes the catch. Sutherland long on. She just didn't get the distance. There was elevation.
Shoot bowls, pulling the ball away into the leg side it goes. Could be a chance of a catch. Oh, very well taken. Ash Gardner diving forward at deep mid-wicket. High fives all round. Molyneux bowls a ball which is hit hard into the leg side. Could be a chance of a catch. Could be 6. She's out. Darcy Brown takes the catch at deep mid-wicket. I thought it was going all the way. Should. It's a full delivery. That's well dug out. Oh, could be a run out. Should be a run out. Throw hit. It's brilliant. Risha Ghosh is run out by Phoebe Litchfield. Here comes Sutherland. Bustling in once more. Oh, bowser. Full toss. Leg stump is splattered. She swings hard at that. It goes towards the offside. Throw comes in. Should be a run out, and it is. She was slow setting off. Where was the dive? 12 needed from 2. It's down the leg side, it's a wide. Harmanpreet Kaur gets in a mix. Oh, there's going to be another run out, is there? And Beth Mooney's convinced that Shriyanka Patel's been run out here. Struck on the pad, big appeal given. Out LBW, and that'll be the game. And India are going to need the biggest of favours from Pakistan against New Zealand tomorrow.
Women's International Cricket on ABC Sport.
And India did not get that favour. They went out of the competition, not making it through to the semi-finals. The same fate that befell England as well, who went into their final group stage match having won 3 from 3, and they went down to the West Indies. The West Indies through to play New Zealand. That's in the second semi-final that'll be on tomorrow night. And, of course, you can catch all of that right here on the ABC Listen app and on ABC Sport Digital Radio as well. That'll be underway at around 1:45 in the morning, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Not too far away from this one getting underway and joining our colleagues at the BBC. South Africa taking on Australia in the first of the semi-finals. As I say, the sides that met in the last World Cup final where Australia came out on top against South Africa. Reaching the final of that last T20 World Cup in South Africa was a huge achievement for the South African side, who perennially had been falling over at the penultimate hurdle. Elsewhere, incidentally, there is more cricket taking place today in the men's game. Two fascinating test matches taking place at the moment. Of course, India travelling out to take on Australia. They're playing New Zealand at the moment in Bengaluru, the first test of their series there. India won the toss. They chose to bat. They got skittled for 46 in that match. Rishabh Pant back into the side with the gloves, top scored with 20, and only Yashavi Jaiswal made it into double figures alongside Pant, as Matt Henry picked up 5 for 15, William O'Rourke 4 for 22. All out for just 46, and in response, New Zealand reached the close of play 3 for 180. Devon Conway falling just short of 100. He was bowled by Ashwin for 91, a lead of 134 runs then for New Zealand. There, the other test match that is taking place at the moment, it's Pakistan taking on England. England won the first test. This is the second test. It's also taking place in Multan, where they played the first test match, being played pretty much on the same wicket as well. It's certainly a bit more spicy than that first one, where there were very high scores in the first innings before the pitch started to break up. The pitch breaking up a little bit sooner here. Pakistan had a first innings lead, 366. England all out for 291. Pakistan in their second innings all out for 221. And then England in response, trying to chase down a victory target of 297, reached the close of play on 2 for 36. Zach Crawley going for 3, Ben Duckett going without scoring. He was talking in the media as well about how they know Pakistan can crumble. Well, England's top order crumbled and fell away fairly meekly there, both going to the spinners, both with the wicketkeeper involved, a stumping from Mohammad Rizwan to remove Crawley and taking the catch off Sajid Khan for the second wicket. Ollie Pope unbeaten on 21, and Joe Root also unbeaten on 12 at the close of play. So well set up for a run chase there going into day 4 of that one. You feel it'll wrap up on the 4th day of competition there too. So that's happening in the world of cricket. Elsewhere, of course, it is Australia against South Africa coming up from Dubai. Australia looking to pick up another World Cup trophy in the T20 format of the game. They have been virtually unbeatable. They've been virtually unbeatable through the game over the past few years, and certainly in this tournament, won every match so far. What can South Africa do against them? They did push Australia in the final last year, but Australia again came away with a victory in the end to close out that tournament, to win comfortably in the end against the South African side. Just to jog your memories of that one, Australia made 6 for 156. Beth Mooney, who was the player of the match, top scored, opening the batting, 74 of 53 deliveries she made there. And in the end, good run chase from South Africa, led by their skipper in tonight's match. Wasn't skipper at the time, Laura Wolfart, well known to a lot of Australian fans. She made 61 of 48. There was a late dash from Chloe Tryon, another player who's well known to fans of the WBBL. But South Africa were all out for 6 for 137, I should say, in the end. And Australia winning that World Cup final last time in Cape Town by 19 runs. What is coming up this evening? We're not too far away now from going to join our colleagues from the BBC. The first semi-final, second semi-final on tomorrow night as well. Every single match at the Women's T20 World Cup right here on the ABC Listen app, and also available via ABC Digital Sport. Reminder, the final will be overnight on Sunday as well. Will Australia be in that final, or will it be South Africa? Let's find out right now and join our colleagues from the BBC.
It is time. Semi-final between Australia and South Africa here in Dubai, the Women's T20 World Cup. We've had the toss. It took place a few minutes ago out in the middle. The two captains were alongside Mel Jones.
Laura, that's a handy start to a semi-final. What are you going to do and why?
We're going to have a ball first tonight. We think it looks like a pretty fresh wicket. Looks pretty nice, so I want to have a chase later on.
You've gone unchanged right throughout this tournament. Same team again?
Same team again.
Nice and easy for you, isn't it? Talk me through this pitch. You've played here quite a bit. That's obviously very handy for you.
Yeah, quite nice. Having experienced this wicket a bit, we thought it comes on a bit better second half, so can hopefully make good use of that later.
South Africa over the last 18 months, you've won a semi-final to get through to a T20 World Cup only 18 months ago, and then this year alone you've beaten Australia in the ODIs and T20s for the first time ever. Those two factors, how important are they coming into this semi?
Yeah, I think it gives us a bit of quiet confidence coming into this game, but obviously it's a fresh day, fresh location, Australia quality side, so we're hoping to play some of our best cricket today and hopefully can get the win. And first semi-final as a captain as well. Do you come into this with a couple of new ideas, or you keep everything nice the same? Well, we'll see how it goes, see how the pitch plays, but yeah, hopefully we can catch them off guard with a thing or two.
Okay, all the best today.
Thank you.
Talia, I'll get you to come in. Batting first. They've used this pitch before on 2 occasions, 160, 170. Is that something that you'll sort of ballpark be looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like a really nice wicket, quick outfield, and pretty happy to be batting first and scoreboard pressure in a final.
Okay, talk us through the coin toss. It's the first time you've ever flipped a coin. How'd you feel?
Yeah, I was nervous. I'm used to the big bash with a bat flip, so I think I did a good job, but I lost. So
talk us through the team. Obviously, no Elisa Healy today. Any other changes?
No, we're going with the same lineup that we had against India.
Let's talk about Sharjah as well. 3 games there. Any major or minor changes coming into Dubai that you're going to bring in for this game?
Look, I think every wicket we've played on has been slightly different. So we've been really good as a group at sort of assessing the conditions, communicating within ourselves and adapting from there. So nothing changes tonight. Get the conditions and go from there.
All the best tonight.
Thank you.
And so that was Mel Jones at the toss there with the 2 skippers, Talia McGrath, tossing the coin, doing a good job with it, apart from what she called. So it's Australia in the field, first of all. Let's cross back to our colleagues from the BBC.
Well, that is the news from the middle. Both sides unchanged and line up as follows. Australia, the reigning and 6-time champions, with Beth Mooney behind the stumps. Grace Harris opening in place of Alyssa Healy, who remains out with that foot injury. Elise Perry, Ash Gardner, Phoebe Litchfield, Talia McGrath captains the side. Georgia Wareham, the leg spinner. Annabelle Sutherland, Sophie Molyneux, Megan Schutt, who's been just brilliant in the tournament, and Darcy Brown. So that is Australia. South Africa, captained by Laura Wolfart, with Tasmin Britt, and what an opening partnership they've been throughout the competition. Annika Bosch yet to really get going. Marizanne Kapp, Sine Lise, Chloe Tryon, Nadine de Klerk, Annery Dirksen, Sinalo Jafta keeping wicket. The outstanding Nonkula Leko Malaba left arm spin, and Ayabonga Kaka. So both sides with very familiar lineups, and for those, I think it's little surprise. The only question really was that injury to Alyssa Healy, but otherwise pretty much as expected.
Yeah, definitely. South Africa have been unchanged through the tournament, in fact, and this is the 11 that they think is best placed to win them games. If there's one question mark, I would say it's the spot of Annika Bosch at number 3. I'd like to see Marizanne Kapp batting there. But from what we're hearing, Annika Bosch has been hitting the ball really well in the nets, and I think they're open to being quite flexible with the batting lineup. You know, we may see a Chloe Tryon come in slightly earlier. She's 2 sixes away from being South Africa's biggest 6-hitter in World Cups, so maybe that's something they're looking for from her. And all round, I think it's a great decision for South Africa to put Australia in, because just chatting to some of the media outside, it seems like if there's a vulnerability in the Australian lineup, it may be when they bat first.
Interesting. Well, we shall wait and see. Tash, what about the history? Australia and South Africa in World Cups has only ever gone one way. There's never been a win for South Africa against Australia in Women's World Cup cricket, but they have won twice this year in bilateral cricket. The first time they beat them in a T20 at Canberra early on this year. It can happen. They'll know it can happen.
Yeah, and you know, it's a semi-final. I liked both captains what they said in the toss. Actually, Laura Wolfart said, you know, they're coming into this quietly confident. They come off a good run. They feel like they've had a good tournament. But both captains said it, that actually in a semi-final, it's a new day, it's a new game. I also really like what Talia McGrath said, that actually every wicket that they've played on, they've obviously only played at Dubai once so far, whereas South Africa have played here a few times. But she actually stated that every wicket that they've played on in each game has been different, and she feels that what they've done really well is assess each wicket that they've played on. So I think that's why actually South Africa having a bowl first will really suit them. If they have any chance of winning this game, they can assess those conditions, and then they know exactly what they need to do with the bat in the second innings.
And it'll be really interesting to see pressure tonight, and it can go both ways, because I'm not going to ask any questions about South African Cricket World Cup history and pressure, because for those, we've been down this path too many times, but they have won a semi-final. They beat England last time, and that was a really significant moment, it felt, for the belief of this team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was at home, and Tasman Brits was really the hero of that game with some outstanding catches. So South Africa know it can be done, and I think watching the men get to the final as well, there is definitely a shift in the thinking in South African cricket. Look, pressure and South Africa will always go together until the day that they win a Cricket World Cup.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see how these ladies take it on, because when I chatted to Laura Wolfhard yesterday, there was something slightly different about her, and something that just kind of made me feel, you know what, I think they're ready. I hope they're ready.
Well,
I even put my green dress on.
But, you know, it's one of those things where you can be ready, you can be all set, everything can be perfect, and you can lose to a brilliant team. And Australia are a brilliant team. We've seen that across this tournament. They're the only unbeaten side. As we say, they've never lost a World Cup match against South Africa, and they've won this tournament on 6 occasions, only failing to make the final. Going back historically, you have to go back to 2009 to that tournament between England and New Zealand in England. I mean, they are phenomenal.
They are phenomenal. They've got the skill set. I mean, they bat all the way down to number 9. Sophie Molyneux, she's opened the batting in the Big Bash. She's down at number 9. So they've got all the resources. I think pretty much every single person bowls in that team, apart from Phoebe Litchfield. So they've got all of and Beth Mooney, sorry, because she's going to be behind the stumps, but they've got all the resources. But actually their super strength, Australia, is how they deal with pressure. They know how to win really big games. It's a huge game today, but they've been there, they've done it, they've got the T-shirt, and so they'll just see this as another game. But South Africa, they have the team that can cause an upset today, I think.
Yep, and there's certainly plenty of support for South Africa here as well. Lots of Springbok shirts and the famous dark green and gold trim as well around this ground. It won't be as full as it might be, though. We've bumped into a couple of people today that were coming along, and certainly once we get a little bit further beyond the working day, the stands around this ground will begin to fill up a little bit more. It's not a semi-final lineup we expected. India and England, neither of them being here, is a real shock. I think that's fair to say. Tomorrow, the two teams who arguably are the biggest surprises to have made it, New Zealand and West Indies, will be facing off in Sharjah. But tonight it is Australia against South Africa. That small little lorry that carries a cricket ball is just making its way across the outfield as we see the two sides beginning to walk their way onto the field now between the sparklers and hand in hand with the mascots. And I can see Elise Perry down there, pads on already, deep in conversation with somebody about a quarter of her size, actually, as the players head out to the middle. There's a few more fireworks and things going on today as part of I suppose, the extra fanfare you get at the back end of a tournament. I can see Chloe Trans carrying someone as well. Not one of her teammates, one of the mascots.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a relative. I know that her partner's out here, and I think it's a sibling of hers who's out here as well. So she seems to know that kid pretty well, and she's holding him in her arms. She hasn't put him down yet as they're about to sing the anthem, so I'm guessing it's someone she knows.
Right then, here come the national anthems for South Africa and Australia. It's one of the greats. Here comes advance Australia fair.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage of birds Australia fair. In joyful strains, and let us sing of birds Australia fair.
Well, there we go. The national anthems of South Africa and Australia. For one of these sides, that is the final time they'll be singing it this World Cup. For the other, well, they'll be back here on Sunday for the final to take on one of West Indies or New Zealand. The odds, the history is stacked against South Africa. We can make no bones about that. But Tash Farrant, before we say goodbye to you for the time being, what are you expecting from these opening overs? What are you hoping to see?
Well, I'm expecting Marizanne Kapp to take that new ball, and we see it time and time again. She so often takes those early wickets, and that's what you feel that she's going to need to do again today. She's going to have to try and get into that Australian middle order as quickly as possible. She's been front-loading her overs, bowling almost 3 in that power play, so I'm expecting to see her nice and early, getting that ball to shape away, and for South Africa, hopefully picking up some early Australian wickets.
Well, we shall see. Right, I'm getting out of the way, as are you, Tash. Firdaus Mundo is going to be joined in a moment by Daniel Norcross, but Firdaus, I'll leave you with this question as umpires Jacqueline Williams and Nimali Pereira head to the middle. For South Africa, this is an opportunity. They've been down this path before in a semi-final. They know what's at stake. As we see Laura Wolfart deep in conversation, is this the day?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we always say that every World Cup, this is the year, this is the time when South Africa will win. I think this is probably as good a chance as they've ever had. We've seen Australia have been beaten. They've been beaten by West Indies at home in a T20. South Africa have beat them for the first time this year. So teams are proving to themselves that Australia can be beaten. I don't know if they can be beaten in a game as big as this, but there wouldn't be any joy to sport if it wasn't that there was some possibility.
Well, yeah, what we do know is that green and yellow is going to win either way today.
Some shade of green or yellow.
I could sound very silly now, but I think South Africa got a perfectly good chance, actually. I think we saw Australia when they were put under pressure by India. It was tiny margins between victory and defeat there. It'll be about saving those twos in the field. It'll be about running those twos at the bat. It'll be about playing their very best game, you imagine, for South Africa, because Australia just have such a deep batting lineup. You take wickets and the batters just keep on coming. But if they stay at it and they stick at it, they've certainly got the batters themselves. They've got 2 of the 4 leading run scorers in this competition, in Laura Wolfart and Tasmin Brits. They've got the leading all-rounder, you might argue, in Marizanne Kapp with 82 runs, and there's just 4 wickets, but it's 4 wickets for 53 in 14 overs. She does not go for runs. So I'd give South Africa a decent chance here. It's not even money when Australia play. They're always the favourites, as Henry said, of course. But that doesn't mean to say they cannot be defeated. And I don't want to sound like I'm being partial here for those. I am entirely on the fence. I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter whether our cousins from Australia or our cousins from South Africa
You have a lot of cousins.
I have a lot of cousins. That's one of the advantages of being British. Right. Marizanne Kapp has got her game face on. She's got ball in hand. That she's going to be such an important part of this team. And she does her high kicks before she starts. It's quite imposing when she does that. It's a bit like, I don't know if anybody remembers the great West Indian fast bowler Colin Croft and Patrick Patterson used to see the soles of their feet facing you in their delivery stride. I wonder what it must be like facing up to Marizanne Kapp. Here she is, right arm over, first ball of this semi-final, and it beats the bat. Swings away from Grace Harris and into the gloves of the keeper. Now, the other thing that I'm not quite sure about, I hesitate to say this because I may look foolish, but part of me thinks that actually Grace Harris at the top of the order might be, with Alyssa Healy's current form, an enhancement for Australia, as if they need one. It's also another bowling option that they never use, as Kapp is in again. This is driven sweetly but straight to short, extra cover. There is no run. She's standing on a round off stump here, Grace Harris. You can't see her stumps at all, partly because Marizanne Kapp will float that ball away, float it away, but she will also bring one back in. We saw during the 100, she got Meg Lanning, did she not, with an absolute peach of a ball that cut back, I think, at Lords in the derby between the Oval Invincibles and the London Spirit. As Kapp is in once more, slip still in place, 4 in the ring on the offside. Oh, and Grace Harris goes for a lovely little ramp. She gets it right out of the middle of the bat, but she'll just get 2 for it. It's a slight fumble down a fine leg by Ibonga Kaka, but this is another feature of Australia's running between the wickets. You know, many another side would have settled for a single there, but she ran that first so quickly. It only took the slightest fumble from Kaka to make the second an easy amble. And Australia are underway. Just moved across her stumps and glided it off the full face of the bat down to fine leg. Where's our other boundary line? A deep third. It's a deep third and a long leg, really. That's where Ibonga Kaka is. This is chopped down to that deep third by Harris. She'll get a single. They think of a second. Oh, no, she's hesitation. She's going to be sent back. No, says Mooney. I think Harris might just about have made it. She's so fast between the wickets, Grace Harris, a supreme athlete. But on this occasion, Mooney was not up for the second. And it means we will now see the left-handed Mooney, who will be deputising behind the stumps today. Alyssa Healy, we've seen around the hotel, sporting a boot. That boot's gone.
Yeah, she came to the team photo without the boot on, and she was walking around quite, I would say, relatively comfortably before play today. And they've obviously, not wanting to reveal too much, have just said they'll keep monitoring her. I mean, it's the same for Stefanie Taylor, who's got that knee injury. We're not really hearing whether she will play tomorrow for West Indies against New Zealand. But they haven't ruled Healy out, so they're keeping her around.
Well, it's a bit of an ask, isn't it, to keep wicket with a leg injury. You can sort of almost hide someone. It's tricky in T20 cricket to hide anyone anywhere, really, but sort of short, fine, that kind of thing. But if the rigours of keeping wicket does make things a little awkward. As Kapp is in, her first ball to the left-handed Mooney. Oh, gets an inside edge, and it goes through Jafta, and it's going to run down to the boundary for 4. I'm pretty sure there was a little nick on that. No buys, according to the umpire. But,
I thought I heard something too. I was pretty sure that was a little bit of an edge.
I'd like to see that again, as it swung back into the left. Oh, it's a big edge. It's a huge edge, and it's bounced just in front of Sonala Jafta. Yes.
She won't be happy.
Yes. No, she will not be happy. But Marizanne Kapp will be delighted. I don't know how she got away with that. It's one of the clearest edges you've ever seen. As this next ball is driven up towards mid-on, and there is no run. But a false shot, and we're seeing a bit of movement from Kapp here under these lights. Just getting a nice little bit of shape away from the right-hander into the left-hander. End of the first over, 7 without loss. 4 of those runs more than a little fortuitous, and inappropriately placed in the ledger against the buys column. Doesn't bode awfully well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Marizanne actually looked to me. She had that expression on her face that, oh, come on, Sonala Jafta, you can really take that catch. And there was a little bit of guilt from Jafta's expression. I think, unfortunate for everybody, actually, that got called buys, because we seem to be able to hear the edge from up here. And they're quite high up, and there's glass in front of us.
It deviated massively as well. I mean, it did bounce just in front of Jafta, I think. I think the best chance she had was to stop it. But it went underneath her gloves and down to the boundary for 4. So, who are we going to start with at the far end? Going to go with Seam at both ends. It's going to be Kaka. Yeah, no great surprise there. Let's take a look at this field. 5 in the ring on the offside. A short fine, square leg, and then a deep mid-wicket and a long on. Kaka's a bit slower than Marizanne Kapp. She generally will bring the ball back in to Harris, the right-handed Harris on strike, and she chops this away and is caught at backward point. That's the first wicket.
And it's a big one. It is the wicket of Grace Harris. And well, there was a reprieve for Mooney in the previous over, but not for long. It hasn't taken long for a wicket to go, and Ayabonga Kaka has struck with her first ball. The ball chopped to backward point, a neat catch taken. Just confirm who it was.
It was Annika Bosch taking that catch.
Oh, that's a goodie. You know what that reminds me of?
Oh, I'm scared to hear, actually.
2 days ago, Deandra Dottin taking that catch off Danny White-Hodge in almost the exact same position.
Yeah,
We know what happened after that.
And it was very low down to that catch, and
very similar.
Annika Bosch has done very well.
That's a great catch, because it was about an inch off the ground. Grace Harris has got to go early, the 7th ball, and as a result, Australia have brought in Georgia Wareham. Now, Georgia Wareham has not had the best of World Cups with the bat. Not the best of World Cups with the ball either, really, but with the bat, 7 runs at 2.33, strike rate of just 58. They've tried this experiment. So far, it hasn't come off. Is the day today?
They do seem to like to use her in this position. If they lose an early wicket, promote her to number 3.
I mean, they bat so deep, don't they, for those, that you can kind of afford to have somebody go hard. And if you lose Grace Harris, who would have been the one that was sort of designated of the 2 openers to really open the shoulders, then I think you're allowed, with that batting order, to send someone up. So, Kaka into Wareham, who's beaten on the outside edge. Bosch thought she heard a little noise. She put her arm up in the air at backward point, but there was not one.
And you see what that wicket's done? Suddenly, they just seem to have, I mean, even I sound like suddenly my voice is going somewhere else.
Well, you know, you're going to be a bit, you know, like that today. We expect that.
I'm supposed to be neutral too, remember?
Yeah, but
journalistic neutrality.
I think we've got to allow you a little bit of license on a day like today, as Kaka is in again. It strikes the pad, just rolls out in front of Wareham, and is picked up by Bosch, who's everywhere at the moment. And there's no run.
I want to tell you what I saw Australia doing just before play started today, which I thought was a little bit of a copycat from what South Africa did.
Oh, yes.
When they played Bangladesh. You remember Paul Adams reading the poem?
Yes.
And I've promised you some sneak previews of that.
Of the doggerel, yes. Here's Kaka punched off the back foot into the covers. They'll go for a singular. Sort of feigning dive, really. It's almost fake fielding, but I don't think she can get away with it. Diving in front of cover to try to put the batter off, but they get through for a single. Okay. Were they doing some...
Yes, Sophie Molyneux got a book out, and she opened the book and took a page out of it and then started reading, and it looked sort of like poetry.
It'll be Banjo Patterson, I bet. It usually is.
But where do you think they got that idea from?
Oh, you say that they're just stealing, they're nicking ideas, are they?
They're nicking ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul has now moved on. Poetry's last week's thing. He had a new thing yesterday, which was bird videos.
All right.
And
how does that work?
I didn't see the video, but Laura Wolfert said it's about sort of staying together as a flock and flying in the same direction, and that kind of metaphor.
Well, I can tell you the kind of bird. You know, if you wanted to show those videos, let me give you a suggestion of the flock of birds he should have used. Down the leg side, taken by Jafta, tumbling away to her right. It was down the leg side, so wide has been signalled. If you really wanted to scare Australians, you know.
I'm intrigued by this.
Emus. Emus. Are you familiar?
Do they fly?
No. They do something far worse than that. Do you know what? Have you heard of the Great Emu War?
I have not.
You have not, have you? It's his next delivery is wide outside the off stump through to the keeper. No run. In 1932, in the season of Bodyline, when Douglas Jardine went to Australia and famously smote the Australians. Well, they were humiliated not just once by that English team, but they were defeated in battle by emus in Western Australia. You look it up on...
emus. I'm going to Google it.
Emus. This is punched into the onside this time. Guided, really, as an advancing Mooney just finds a gap up to widen it on. There's no run. You type in the Great Emu War. There you go. There you go. And when you get onto it, you will find that it lists the combatants as the Australian Army and emus, and it will also tell you who won.
Like, I'm going to guess that the birds won.
The birds won. 2 overs gone, 10 for 1, Australia. So if you really want to trigger Australians, you just put a little emu on yourself. This is from Hypercourse, while the overall proportion of balls bowled by spinners at this event is the second highest for any women's T20 World Cup, South Africa, with 63.4%, have been the only side at this edition to deliver more balls of pace than spin.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Remember, there were 7 consecutive overs of seam in the previous match.
Marizan Cup is in again, this time to Mooney, who advances and drives square of the wicket. It's a great shot. It's running away towards the boundary. We'll see the outfield is not as fast as it has been. It will not quite trickle onto the stumps. Really good piece of work from Ayabonga Kaka, who had a lot of ground to make from, well, wide, deep third, more than a backward point, really, and she ended up, I would say, running about 25, 30 metres more. Probably 40 to get round to that. 13 for 1, 3 runs picked up there by Mooney. Mooney showing signalling a little bit of intent. So yes, if Paul Adams was on this, and maybe he was.
Maybe he was.
He might have shown an inspirational video, because there is a video out there.
Well, maybe it was that. I mean, Laura just said bird videos. She didn't say emu videos, but I mean, maybe she just didn't want to tell us.
Don't you? It's a thing. It's a thing. You take a look at that. As Marizan Cap in now to Wareham, who just gets one that comes back into his side. She pushes it up to mid-off from the crease, but gets no run. Wareham been there for 4 balls, just scored the 1 run. Australia 13 for 1. I mean, lost the wicket of Grace Harris to the first ball of Ayabonga Kaka's first over. And so far, this match is kind of delivering the kind of cagey contest that we thought it might do. Also, I think we could tell from that, oh no, well, no ball has just been signalled by Jackie Williams. That's an issue. We're just taking a look at the replay. How big a no ball? Very marginal indeed. Extremely tight. Almost not a no ball, one might argue, but it would have been looked at and it would have been adjudicated as such. So an extra run, the run that poor old Ayabonga Kaka saved, is now onto the ledger. And the ball will have to be bowled again. And of course it's a free hit as Cap is in. And Wareham gives herself some room, whacks this out over deep mid-wicket. She didn't quite time it, but she's going to get 4 for it. And that's proving a costly no ball from Marizan Cup. How quickly fortunes can change. 18 for 1 Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Marizan Cup, if you look at her now, heading over to talk to Sunelise, is one of those players for whom little mistakes like a no ball can really affect her quite badly. And she looked completely disgusted when the no ball was called, and then quite disbelieving of it. Of course, the free hit is something where you always expect the batting team is going to at least try something, and that was an excellent shot.
Yes, I mean, the thing there was that Marizan Camp followed Georgia Wareham and she gave herself some room, but Georgia Wareham is always going to try and target deep mid-wicket when she hits out. She had a lot of profit there against Lauren Bell, you may recall, as she hides this one to backward point, but it's well fielded. Tumbling stop at point, no run. 18 for 1 the score remains. That was nicely connected with by Wareham, who, as I said earlier, has not really got going with the bat at all in this tournament, but so far she's just larruped one out to deep mid-wicket, and this last shot was very nicely played, but it's pretty much straight to the field. It's the points left. Good stop from Bosch, who's in that crucial position there. He's picked up a catch already. His Cap is in, pushed into the offside. Mooney wants a run, eager, but she's not going to get one as it's tidied up by try on. 18 for 1.
A lot of intent being shown by Australia. I mean, Beth Mooney, we can see, is almost halfway down, pretty much.
She's sort of the embodiment of intent, though, isn't she, Mooney?
She is.
She's deeply intentful. You have to say that, for the most part, the Australians are, you know, the way in which they field, the way in which they come onto the field, the way in which they come out to bat, always looking to get those extra runs, the extra 2 here and there, as this ball's pushed into the offside, but again straight to try on. There is no run. This is a good recovery from Marizan Cap after her first ball went for 3 and then the no ball, 4 off the next. We've had 3 dots, just clawing it back a little bit here. We've not got a massive crowd in today. There's no great surprise. Australia playing against South Africa. We've seen some big crowds when India were in town. To a degree, Pakistan as well. We saw a full house at Sharjah, which was quite the spectacle when India played Australia. His Cap is in wide of the off stump. Now they've gone up for appeal. They're convinced there's an edge on that. The umpire is unmoved. And, well, there's so much certainty about this, they will surely have to refer it.
Yeah,
they have done. Laura Wolfhard has referred this. The ball was a long way away from the body. It was swinging away. The bat was away from the body, and it was nowhere near the ground. So if there was a noise, well, we didn't hear anything this time. So if it is an edge, it'll be a very thin one. Here we go. We're having a look on the split screen. Bat's got nowhere near the ball yet. In fact, it's still quite a long way from that ball, but now it's very close to the ball. Ooh, well, we're going to need ultra edge. Ball is, as they say, very close to bat. Anna Harris is in the third umpire's chair. Ultra edge comes up, and there it is. There's the spike. Wareham goes. It hasn't worked. The pinch hitter. She's got to go. She's got to walk. 18 for 2, and so far for umpire Jackie, this has been a case of not hearing one and not hearing another. Her hearing's not quite right today. She's given 4 byes when it was an inside edge and just didn't quite get that little edge. In fairness to her, it must have been a thin one, but all of the South African fielders went up as one. They were convinced, and thinking about it, it was unclear what else it could have been. But
yeah, just the distance, right, of the ball from the body and really from anything besides the bat, I suppose. It's a good recovery from Marizanne Kapp. We spoke about dot balls, and she hasn't had as many as she normally does at this stage of the innings. So seeing her go for runs, I think, is something that can easily deflate South Africa. But now that she's taken a wicket, I think you'll see South Africa really buoyed, and you can already see it. Chloe Tryon's dancing out there. Sinala Jafta, who's always so energetic, is getting involved. I just feel like we're living the whole mood of what's going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Talia McGrath, the stand-in skipper, has come out to bat. She's stand-in skipper, of course, because Elisa Healy is struggling to stand at all with her injured leg.
Do you know it's the first time Talia McGrath's tossed a coin?
Is that right?
Because she's only ever done a bat flip.
Oh, I see. Of course, in Women's Big Bash.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Right, now, Ayabonga Kaka is going to start the 4th over. I'd be intrigued. Do you think Marizanne Kapp's going to bowl 3 in the power play? Because she has and she hasn't.
I think so. I think she should.
Right, Kaka, though, starts the 4th over. And first ball is nudged into the onside, up to wide mid-on when Albert does the fielding. They'll just take the one. She's a little deep there at mid-on, so the soft hands of Mooney able to get an easy single. She moves to 5. Australia 19 for 2. They've lost Grace Harris and they've lost the pinch hitter Georgia Wareham. They do have, as I keep on saying, plenty of batting to come. Elise Perry has not arrived yet. Frequently she comes in at 3. After this, there's still Phoebe Litchfield, Annabelle Sutherland. I mean, it's an imposing batting lineup. Ash Gardner. But wickets will just slow down the scoring rate a little bit. So Australia, New Zealand, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, all the same. They're all indexed to the same place in my brain. Kaka is in, that's played away from the body, down towards deep backward point, where it's fielded by Nadine de Klerk to get through for a single, 20 for 2. But this is as good a start, really, as South Africa could have hoped for.
I would just minus those 4 byes. I think that is the one thing they'll look back on and think like, oh, I don't know about that.
And the no ball.
And the no ball, of course,
yes.
And then the 4 runs that came from the free hit after the no ball. So, I mean...
But look, they'd probably take 20 for 2 off 20 balls as this next ball is driven, but straight to short, extra cover, and that's a poor bit of fielding. Just allows the ball through her legs there, and that yields a single that otherwise would not be there. Anna-Marie Dirksen, she's got a long way to get down, in fairness to her. She's one of the taller players in this tournament. We see her around the hotel. Oh, she did the long barrier. And the thing about the long barrier is you've got it. If you're going to do the long barrier, then the knee and the hands and the foot need to come quite close together. You can't do a long barrier and then leave a gap.
Nope.
Because then it's not really a long barrier.
Nope.
Kaka into McGrath, who plays nicely off the back foot, but a good diving stop prevents a run at point.
That's Dirksen again, and I've got a story about her for you.
Yes.
She grew up on a sheep farm. And for the first 10 years of her life, they didn't have access to the electricity supply. So she didn't have a television in her home. They didn't have electricity at all.
Oh.
And she says they do have it now.
They didn't have electricity?
Nope.
Kaka is in. This is clipped away out towards deep mid-wicket. There's just a single. So they didn't even have a generator or anything.
No, eventually they got a Lister generator, which is one of those diesel generators that you crank up in the evenings. And her dad used to do that just if they needed the lights. And then when she turned 10, they got a television set, which also worked on the generator, but you couldn't boil the kettle and have the TV on at the same time.
Okay.
So you'd have to turn one of them off, and she missed a lot of good sport because of that.
Because of tea?
She needed a cup of tea, exactly.
Okay, it worked into the onside again by Mooney. She's played that shot really well. It's just a sort of get-off strike shot, moves it to the left of mid-on. Malaba again does the fielding. 4 overs gone, 5 singles off that over. Australia 23 for 2. That does seem quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, right? She's
No.
only 23 years old, so we're talking about the 2000s.
I'm slightly gobsmacked. I mean, I don't quite know how you manage a sheep farm without electricity. Aren't there things that, you know, I suppose hand shearing?
I don't know. I should have asked her that.
What part of South Africa is this?
So this is in a part of South Africa called Boatfoot West, which is in the Great Karoo. And it's a semi-desert area of the country. There's not that much going on there.
Semi-deserts are quite hot as well.
Yeah, exactly. Quite hot.
No, obviously no air
and then
conditioning.
Quite cold in the winters. No air conditioning. The winter evenings are, I mean, you guys will laugh at us, but for us, very cold. We're talking -4-ish.
Well, that would be quite chilly even for us, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not wrong to complain about that.
No. You complain away.
Yeah, and her grandparents still live out there. She's now moved to the town of Oudtshoorn, which is also where Othniel Bartman comes from.
I'd have been moving straight to, well...
Cape Town?
Yes. Instantly.
She's not interested. I did ask her about Cape Town, and she said Dubai is quite a lot for her.
Right. Well, I can imagine it would be.
She said it's basically like living in the future.
There's a lot of electricity here. Marizanne Kapp is going to bowl her 3rd over, the 5th of the innings. The first ball is punched aerially back past her. It's running up towards the boundary. Fielder in pursuit. Nadine de Klerk gets there, and they get back for a couple of runs. It's nicely played job, but it was in the air a little bit. That Marizanne Kapp, in her follow-through, moves away to her left, so there was never any danger of proffering a catch, but it was just a little uppish. 25 for 2. 25 balls have been bowled. Australia not getting away yet from South Africa, but this long batting lineup just gives them a little bit of insurance, I guess you'd say, after the loss of those 2 early wickets. Harris and Wareham. Here comes Kapp. This is pushed into the offside, fielded at point. There's no run. Of course, we welcome ABC listeners who have been with us throughout this World Cup, as well as listeners on the ICC website and app. And, of course, BBC 5 Sports Extra listeners. You can get regular updates. You see highlights as well on the BBC Sport website and app, as we bring you every ball of every game in this World Cup. Can't believe we've only got this and 2 more games to go. It's all gone by in a flash as Kapp is in, driven in the air, and it's just to the right of one of many covers. There's a point, and then there's a sort of cover and an extra cover. It was nearer that cover, Chloe Tryon, who dived away to her right, parried it, and kept the scoring to 1, but very nearly Mooney. It's a false shot, spooned really, a lot of bottom hand, and it was, what, another metre or so closer to Chloe Tryon. She might have got a hand to that. Coming down the wicket was Mooney, and she didn't time it. She does use a lot of bottom hand in a lot of shots she plays, whether she's doing that little shovel into the onside or just trying to guide the ball through the offside, trying to find that gap. 26 for 2.
It looks like Marizanne Kapp's moving a couple of these 5 fielders on the offside slightly closer to each other.
Tanya McGrath, tall, statuesque, on strike, faces and defends, stabs the ball into the ground, pushes it back to Kapp, and there is no run. Just another 8 balls of a power play to endure before South Africa can then think about bringing their spinners on, especially Malaba. She could be absolutely key today.
We've not really seen her in the power play this tournament, and normally that's where she bowls.
No. I wonder why that is. This Kapp is in again. McGrath gets struck on the pad. The ball rolls out into the onside. Jafta, the keeper, is after it, gets there, but they get a single. 27 for 2.
I think there are 2 reasons for not seeing Malaba in the power play. The one is Marizanne Kapp, because she's batting higher up, though not as high as I'd like. She's batting at number 4, not 3. Actually likes to bowl her overs as close to in one spell as possible, because, I mean, I guess it's about getting the body going again, and she is getting slightly older.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's not elderly yet.
No, not at all, not at all. And the other is that South Africa want to take advantage of any early swing. Excuse me, goodness, something in my throat.
Which she gets plenty of. She's in here, and that one swings, for example. It's pushed into the offside. Mooney again wants a run that is not there. Wolfhart tidies up. 5 overs have gone, and Australia 27 for 2. Game very evenly poised. If anything, you might say South Africa just a touch on top. putting aside your journalistic integrity, Firdaus, how are you feeling?
Oof, that's a tough one.
That is going to be Henry Moran.
I'm feeling quite nervous, to be honest. Every run almost feels like a run too many, actually, even though South Africa, I suppose they would have bitten your hand off for 27 for 2 in the power play.
Would they ever? This is intriguing cricket, isn't it? And one thing that we have seen in this tournament is the consistency from the likes of Cap and the way that Kaka just gets it absolutely on the money. And sometimes it isn't particularly highlight worthy or headline grabbing, but
exactly,
it is so important, particularly against a team like Australia where the batting is so deep. Actually, somebody that's going to restrict the run scoring is as valuable as somebody who's going to bowl those occasional wicket-taking balls. And one of those players who's bowled a lot of them this tournament is Nonkululeko Malaba, who's got 9 wickets across 5 matches. And the left-arm spinner is in now to bowl to McGrath, slashing the ball into the offside. It hits the body of Dirksen at cover point, and there is no run. Malaba bowling from the far end of the ground.
And quite quickly as well. That was 83.7 kilometres an hour.
It's in now, and McGrath pushes towards cover. Wolfart picks up. There's energy in the field from South Africa today.
There is, and it's also one of the rare times we're seeing Nonkululeko Malaba bowl in the power play at this tournament.
She's in now, and McGrath deep in the crease, looks for that angle through the offside and plays it beautifully away for the first boundary at 18 balls. And you wouldn't say it's one that was needed by Australia, but it's a very welcome one. 31 for 2 as it's crashed away through the covers.
A little bit worried about Annery Dirksen over there. She's had a few good stops and a couple of, maybe I'm just being a little bit harsh on her, but I do wonder if she could have done slightly better in saving that. Oh, maybe I am being harsh. That was well out of her reach.
It looked it from our angle, I'll give you that. A little bit quicker, that's well bowled, speared in towards the pads of McGrath, the stand-in captain for Australia. As says, and Daniel was saying, hello to our listeners in Australia. Let us know what you're up to, where you might be listening. Great to have you with us on ABC and the ABC Listen app. 31 for 2, 2 balls left of the power play, and a little bit of room is given by McGrath. She gets actually a little bit fortunate because the imposing figure of Brits at square leg was not far away from its cap, forgive me, wasn't far away from that. You can see what she was trying to do, create the angle, maximise these final couple of power play deliveries. And here comes the last of them. 31 for 2, that's quick, and it's smashed away through the offside for 4. Again, Dirksen goes flying but can't stop it. And McGrath's getting into her work now. It's a nice shot. 11 from 11, 8 from the over, 35 for 2. After 6 overs, intriguingly poised here at the Women's T20 World Cup. It's the first semi-final here on 5 Sports Extra and BBC Sounds.
Yeah, I think South Africa would have been pretty happy with the first 5 overs of the power play, and we had been speaking about Nonkululeko Malaba not bowling in that period, but 2 fours is something she will be particularly disappointed by, and I guess the second of those we could maybe have a look at whether Annery Dirksen is fielding as well as she would like to today. I actually think if South Africa were going to bowl a spinner in the power play, maybe they should have given the over to Chloe Tryon, who's a little bit slower than Malaba. And, you know, we saw that one delivery was up to 55 miles per hour, which I cheated. I looked on the TV screen to do the conversion. It's 88 kilometers an hour, which is pretty quick.
Yeah, sharp, isn't it? So if you do want to join the conversation, tms@bbc.co.uk. There'll be lots of England supporters. It'll be very disappointed not to see England in the semi-finals, but intriguing cricket nonetheless here from the UAE, as we see Nadine de Klerk into the attack. So more seam, bustling medium pace, and a right arm over of de Klerk. This is back of a length and hammered into the leg side, but there is protection out there on the boundary, and Dirksen again fumbles, but no harm done. As out there in the deep, there is now the opportunity for South Africa to dry up any boundary scoring opportunities, because that field can be spread. 4 outside the circle. We've got a deep cover, long on, deep mid-wicket, deep square leg, as McGrath stands there, leaning on her bat, looking around at where the gaps might be. The band plays in the distance. The very familiar South African accent of de Klerk. Moving that field around, she comes in now, and that's nicely whipped towards mid-wicket, but straight to the hands of Ayabonga Kaka, who fields under what is at this time of day an entirely unnecessary wide-brimmed hat, but she likes to wear them.
She likes those, yeah. You're not going to see her without that wide-brimmed hat.
You keep comfortable in the field, that's the thing. You do what works for you. 36 for 2 Australia. 2 balls into the 7th over. Here comes de Klerk again, moving in past the umpire, and this is angled, defended into the offside again. Good bowling, and
I think her role's particularly important tonight. You know, she's been bowling what the team have been joking is basically leg spin off a long run-up. Because I think if there's a bowler that could be targeted, I think it could be her. And I think that's what makes what she does tonight so important.
She's a fighter, though. Real competitor. She runs in again. 32 on her back, past the umpire, and giving herself some room. And whipping to the leg side is McGrath, but only for 1. As Marizai Cap fields out there on the boundary. The band plays in their red T-shirts over there beneath a vast poster of Sophie Devine, who this time tomorrow in Sharjah will be captaining New Zealand in a World Cup semi-final.
Quite a lot of swing. I'd seen the stats earlier, and I'm just seeing them again. 1.9 degrees is the most we've seen.
In comes de Klerk once more to the left-handed Mooney. Whip round the corner towards short fine leg, half stopped by Malaba. She's going to have to pick herself up and get that ball before it reaches the boundary. She does that. They'll turn for a third. No is the cry, and that's a good piece of fielding, actually, from Malaba, who had to haul herself up and then immediately sprint. And Mooney will feel a little frustrated she's not put that away because it was on the hips. And with fine leg up, it just had to avoid Malaba, but she got it within range. 1 ball left of the 7th over. 39 for 2 is the Australia score. De Klerk bowls, angled towards short third, and there is no run. So just 4 from the over. Australia not getting away at the moment. Thank you to Firdaus Munda, South African cricket writer, who's been such a fabulous part of our team across the tournament. Little stories and insights. Imagine Tash Farrant as you join us once again. Imagine growing up with no electricity, no telly.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe that's why she's playing for South Africa, because she had to be outside the whole time.
That's a good point.
Playing sport.
Yeah. What have you made of this start?
I feel like it's been quite tentative from Australia, actually. I think, obviously, thought Kaka bowled beautifully. So did Marizan Kat. They both picked up those early wickets. Sending Georgia Wareham in at number 3 hasn't worked at all this tournament. It didn't work again today. So I feel it's slightly in the balance, but I think a nervy start from Australia. I feel like they haven't really looked to try and hit through the line. They've hit a few wayward balls to the boundary, but nothing sort of in their area. So I think a really good start from South Africa. What I've liked is in the field, they've been swarming the batter, especially inside the ring. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of energy out there within the South African team. So I think that's a good thing for South Africa to see early on.
Here comes Chloe Tryon, left arm spin into the attack. Massive swing from McGrath, which rather tells a story of perhaps a sense of the need to get on with it. She gets nothing on it. Martin emails, listening in Brisbane. Thanks for the coverage. Listening on the ABC listen app. A bit worried about Australia scoring a bit slowly. Here comes Tryon, and McGrath will find 1 out towards deep cover, but only the single. Gets Mooney onto strike.
Well, that was a risky shot. That was really well bowled from Chloe Tryon. She used to be a left-arm seamer, and then a couple of years ago changed to the left-arm spin that she bowls, but actually she doesn't look to get any turn. It's always coming in towards the right-handed batter. That McGrath somehow got that into the offside gap. It's almost going to hit leg stump if she missed that. So a bit of a risky shot and well bowled there by Chloe Tryon.
Early on in this 8th over, Australia, having been asked to bat first, a 40 for 2. In comes Tryon again, round the wicket, to bowl to Mooney, who's driving out towards deep cover. But again, just a single. It feels like South Africa's field placings have been good today.
Yeah, they have, and you don't normally see sort of, you know, within the first 10 overs a game having a deep extra cover. But they've obviously done their homework on Beth Mooney, and they've actually got 3 inside the ring on the offside, and then that sort of straighter extra cover on the boundary.
Ooh, next delivery is a good ball from Tryon. The bails are whipped off by Nonkululeko Malaba. Wolf up with the hands on the head, that turn.
Yeah, and she's bowling slower tonight, Chloe Tryon. That one was at 47 miles an hour. She normally bowls sort of in those 50 miles an hour. But that was a beauty. Just as I said, she doesn't really look to turn it. That one's gripped only a little bit. He's just missed the top of off stump, skimmed past that bail. That was really well bowled by Tryon.
Tryon in again to bowl to McGrath, coming forward and slams the ball into the ground, but it drops into the hands of the bowler.
Jafta behind the stumps. She is brilliant. She's so lively, and that's what you need from your keeper. She always brings the energy.
McGrath comes advancing forward again, but will only get a single. 3 from the over, 8 gone, 42 for 2, Australia. They wanted to get 150, and let's not forget at the toss, Talia McGrath, who's out there now on 14 off 19, she was saying, yeah, 160, 170.
Yeah.
Well, to get 150 from here, Australia would have to go at 9 and over.
Yeah, that's a lot, and you know they've got so much batting. You just kind of wonder why that they're not going a little bit harder here. I do think South Africa have bowled really well. Chloe Tryon, that was a brilliant over. She's almost a part-time spinner, but she needs to make sure she has a word actually with her other fellow spinners. I think we're going to see Sune Lees come on now. She used to bowl leg spin, now she's bowling off spin. Her action hasn't really changed. You don't really know what's coming out, but Chloe Tryon needs to make sure that she communicates that actually that slower pace. We saw her bowl a slower pace than Malaba. It's actually working a little bit better, so we'll see what Sune Lees does here, because she does bowl that slower pace actually.
Well, since she's given up leg spin, she's landing a few more.
Absolutely.
Certainly. In comes Lees, bowls a good delivery actually, right on the toes. It's stopped by Kaka at mid-wicket, and there is no run. Charlie Dagnall's been in touch. He's listening on the A10. Lovely to have you with us.
Oh, I thought that was a station. Do you mean the road? Wait,
yeah,
the A10?
Yeah, I think he's pulled over at the services on the A10. Here comes Lose. Oh, appeal for LBW. No, reverse sweep attempted and missed.
I was like, we're not on the A10. What's the A10? Sorry. I live down south. Is that sort of in the Midlands?
Dunno.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right, daggers.
I've got to say, I think you might be finally losing it. 42 for 2. Sune Lees is in again. 2 dots to start the over. There'll be a run there, but only the single down the ground towards Tryon, waiting wide long on. 43 for 2.
I'm losing it. You fell off your chair about 20 minutes ago.
Do you know, this commentary box is unusual.
And I've got photographic evidence, so if you want me to put it out on the socials, I will.
How did you... That was sneaky of you.
I was so rapid.
That's really mean. What happened? This is an unusual commentary box in the sense that it's got chairs a little bit like you might find in the stands. Here comes Lees around the wicket to bowl a ball onto Mooney's pads, but there won't be a run tucked towards Malaba at short fine leg. And so, one, they don't move because they're bolted into the floor, and 2, let me have a look at this picture. It's not going to be... It's not very dignified, that.
It's alive, I think.
It is alive, great. Meeting the ball in the full to try and work the angle is Mooney. Should get a single down the ground. 44 for 2. It also reveals my boxer shorts.
Yeah, I won't put it out there, don't worry. I wouldn't do that to you. We're a team here.
We are a team here, she says rather pointedly. Here comes Sune Lees. Final ball of the 9th over. Just 2 from it so far. Forward is McGrath. No run there. Driven towards Wolfhard. Australia getting a bit bogged down here. 2 from the 9th over. It's 44 for 2. And they're just struggling to get things moving here. Just to finalise that story, the problem was I was over-plugging in a wire over there, and the chair, because it automatically flips back up again, as I went back to sit down, I suddenly, both you and Daniel looked over, and I'd measured my length. I'd gone. You were howling.
It was brilliant.
You were howling with laughter.
Yeah, that was. I think Daniel was crying, to be honest.
Yeah, you were there. The paparazzi were out immediately.
You were doing your thing, sort of setting up all the technical equipment that I can't help at all with. So you were, but it was funny. It's one of those things that you got to laugh, but you got to check you're okay first.
This is dropped into the ground by Mooney, looking to find some run from somewhere. Try and continue it. They can't do so. You've got to check you're right first.
It's like you laugh and then you're like, oh no, are you okay?
Yeah, I was going to say that was not the first question.
Okay. Yeah, like the 4th,
The
maybe.
first question was, Daniel, did you see that? In comes Tryon round the wicket to Mooney, who comes forward, lofts it down the ground. Finally, the pressure released. Is it going to go to the boundary? I think it will. That's a good shot from Beth Mooney, who gets Australia's first boundary in some time. The 4th of the innings, 48 for 2. We're early on in the 10th over. a little release of pressure. And those of you down under will be very glad to hear that news.
Yeah, she needed to find that boundary. She just skips down the wicket, goes over that vacant long off region, but Australia needed that.
Mooney sweeping hard out towards square leg just for one though. Cap will trot in from the boundary. 49 for 2.
I know Australia have a very, very long batting lineup, but you don't want to leave it too much to your middle lower order. They just, you know, they've only lost 2 wickets and they know how long their batting order is, so these two actually have a bit more of a licence to do what Beth Mooney just did 2 balls ago.
Try a little bit quicker this time, and McGrath will thrash the ball to deep cover for 1. 50 up for Australia, but 50 coming up in the 10th over. McGrath's 16 from 24. The flames shoot up. They're a new addition. Just in case anyone was getting a bit chilly out there.
Yeah, we've got the Aussie flags as well. Can't see any South Africa flags.
Oh, that's over there, far side. Mooney, drop and run, and pushing the ball towards ball 5. He'll pick up and throw, and actually that's the one time in this innings where things haven't been quite on it. As the fielder eventually, Annika Bosch, does get in and back things up. Hello to Teresa, who's listening. Thank you very much for getting in touch. 51 for 2. Australia looking to try and find the boundary again. There's McGrath crunching it off the back foot out towards deep cover. They'll push for a second. They'll get that second. 9 from the over, an unusually profitable one for Australia in an innings that so far has rather stuttered, really, midway point of it. And you have to say at this point, I think South Africa, that they've only got 2 wickets, they'll know that economy against a side with this depth of batting is a very, very valuable commodity.
Yeah, it is, and that's a really good point, actually, because, you know, normally you feel that picking up wickets is the best way to slow the rate down. It is, but with Australia's batting lineup, they just keep coming, so actually it's a really good point. If you can keep that economy down, and that's almost sort of the best way is to protect those boundaries, because actually, you know, Australia's batting lineup is so long. It doesn't really matter if you get them sort of 4 or 5 down, because the batters just keep on coming. So South Africa, after that first half of the first innings, they'll be really happy with that. I think they've bowled brilliantly. I think Marizanne Kapp, obviously we know how good she is. She does it time and time again. Kaka, I feel, has really come into her own this tournament, obviously with no Shabnam Ismail. I always felt she went under the radar beneath sort of Kapp and Ismail, which is fair enough. They're 2 of the best seam bowlers that have ever played the women's game. So Kaka's come into her own. She bowled a good couple of overs, and then the spinners have come on. They've bowled straight. I think they've communicated well. They've slowed up their pace after that first quick over from Malaba. So South Africa, they've started really well, and Oz, they're going to have to go here because, you know, Talia McGrath said at the toss they're going to be looking towards that sort of 160 mark, but to do that they're going to have to go, well, a lot quicker than they have been in the first 10 overs.
Yeah, they have to go 11s to pass 160. I'm going to make way for Daniel in a moment. Ken emails, as does Robert, and Robert says, as much as I want to get optimistic, I'm very cautious. If South Africa's bowlers can keep Australia's batters quiet, it seems likely Australia's bowlers can keep South Africa's batters even quieter. Ken says, I, like any other England fan, all for being behind the team opposing Australia. So come on, South Africa, turn them over. That's from Ken in London. Well, I think, Ken, there's lots of people who are sort of supporting South Africa, not for any other reason than South Africa have been a wonderful story in recent times, beaten finalists last time, but also Australia, when you have success, everybody supports the underdog. It's the way it goes, and Australia have been such a privilege to watch this tournament and tournaments before. Right, I'm getting out of the way. 53 for 2. Thatch, some more for you, and then Dan.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see actually how Australia come out in the next couple of overs after the drinks break. We've just seen, sometimes we see the coaches come onto the pitch, but no Australian coach came out to have a chat with the Australian batters there. They've got Beth Mooney and Talia McGrath. They know exactly what they're doing, but I think we're going to see them go a lot harder in the next couple of overs. They're going to have to face Sune Lees, the slow now off spinner. She had bowled a good first over, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Beth Mooney and Talia McGrath, you know, put the foot down here.
Well, that's the point of having batting down to number 9, isn't it, really? It's that you can afford to, because you can afford to lose a couple of wickets in pursuit of a bigger total. But we did also say in our previews, did we not, that when looking at ways that an upset might happen, that Australia batting first, sometimes they've got a target in mind and they'll aim to get to that target. And that can sometimes mean that they leave a few out there. Whereas when they're chasing, they know exactly what they need and they tend to get there. Soon Elise into the attack first over after drinks, and she bludgeons a full toss down the ground. There is a long on running round Nadine de Klerk. Throw comes in, and that's a tight second run, but they get home. Talia McGrath gets home, 55 for 2. It's such a shame that we discovered that Soon Elise likes to be called Soon Elise, not Soon Elise, because when she was Soon Elise, which she was for years and years and years, you just ended up singing the ABBA song Voulez-Vous to it. Soon Elise is in, and the next ball rather is advanced upon by Mooney and driven down to Chloe Tryon. Long off for another single. I think we're seeing a bit of intent here now from Beth Mooney. 24 from 24. Talia McGrath, who's a tremendously powerful cricketer, has not got going at all yet. 18 from 25, but expect to see her show some ambition. As Elise is in, this is swept. It's down the leg side. Does it come off a bit of pad, a bit of McGrath pad? She couldn't catch up with it. And it goes up to the offside. They don't get the run. 2-1 dot. McGrath is in danger of just getting a little frustrated here. She stands tall, back raised, waits and then cuts through the offside, and it's not a great bit of fielding. It's going to reach the boundary as a result. There's nobody sweeping on the offside, and that ring of steel needs to be slightly firmer than it's proved to be on this occasion. The ball was hit very firmly towards cover, and it's gone through the fielder. It was hit hard. You've got that, you have to acknowledge, but Tasmin Brits not getting down to it. 4 to the total, 60 for 2. McGrath gets a full ball, but she works up to long on for a single. 8 off the over so far with 1 ball to go. 9 came from the previous over, so there is a little bit of an injection of momentum happening here. 61 for 2. 1 ball left in the 11th over. The field has to change for the left-handed Mooney. 4 in the ring on the offside, long off. Fielders out deep on the leg side. Down the wicket comes Mooney and drags a horrible shot out towards deep mid-wicket. They might have got 2 on another day, but the throw comes in. Just a single. 9 from the over. Soon Elise has now bowled 2 overs, none for 11. Tryon has bowled 2 overs, none for 12. And sort of between Tryon, Lisa and de Klerk, that's the kind of 4th and 5th over, isn't it? They're trying to get whatever that is, 8 overs out of those 3, and the 5 of them have gone now.
Yeah, and I think that's, where Australia need to try and target. Obviously, they know it's going to be slightly trickier to face up to Kaka. And Marizanne capped there. She's coming back on now. Kaka, she bowled a brilliant first 2 overs. She normally kind of goes to full and straight, sort of outside of that power play. She's a very good Yorker bowler. I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to go under the bat here, but I think those 3 that you just mentioned, Daniel, have done a really good job so far. I think Australia were a bit sort of late to capitalise on these. You saw them in the last over really try and use their feet, but that's almost the first time we've seen them do that tonight.
Ayabonga Kaka runs in, right arm over the wicket. The left-handed Mooney comes down the wicket and drives nicely along the ground, but can't beat what is a deep extra cover. And you see this. Ayabonga Kaka likes a deep extra cover to a left-hander, doesn't she? She doesn't have the long off, so mid-off's up. Deep extra cover is back. Yeah,
they've had this a couple of times tonight to Beth Mooney, so they've obviously, whatever sort of statistical meetings or scouting meeting that they've had going into this game, they've obviously seen that that's Beth Mooney. She likes to hit extra cover, so they've obviously done their homework here, South Africa.
Bit of bottom hand perhaps steers her drives as this is flicked away out towards long on. It's between 2 fielders. They ought to get back for 2. Mooney's scurrying back, throw comes in, and she gets home. Tremendously fit Beth Mooney. 2 more to the total, 65 for 2. Suddenly you feel this post-drinks urgency.
Yeah, you do. That's really good running from Beth Mooney. We've seen her play a couple of brilliant innings at Sharjah in the day games where she was absolutely knackered, but she ploughs on.
Kaka into McGrath, drives but can't beat extra cover. The ball bounces off a wicket end, but is well watched.
Oh, I hate fielding at extra cover sometimes, especially sort of the back end of a tournament or the back end of the summer. You got to get the tubey grip on. Almost some guys wear the knee pads.
Oh really? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I suppose it hurts, doesn't it? All that diving around on the square. Kaka in, and this is slapped to mid-off. Well fielded, actually. It was a nasty one for de Klerk. as the ball was slapped to her flat and it bounced not far in front of her, eyes wide open. She fell over rather like Henry did before the start of play.
Yeah, liked it. That was brilliant fielding because that picked up pace and it just bounced in front of her, Nadine de Klerk. She was taken back with the ball, so that was
Very Henry. Very Henry.
Brilliant bit of fielding. The look of shock in her eyes as well, just like Henry.
Just the single. Kaka in, full toss, but driven straight to backward point. Oh, shy of the stumps, don't do that. Has given away the single. I mean, Mooney was always going to be back there. That has just thrown a run away. I do understand Henry Dirksen, she's trying to show some sort of willing and aggression, but, I mean, Mooney was never going to be out there. And instead, a ball that should have been annoyed that she didn't put away, she gets a bonus run for because the shy at the stumps, there's nobody backing up there. Was fielded out on the boundary. Kaka in. Down the wicket again comes McGrath. Finds a gap between point and extra cover. For a single, though. 6 off the over. 68 for 2 from 12. Why do we find it so funny when our colleague falls over? I mean, part of it, I'll tell you part of it for me, is that, you know, we know our daily routines by now. We've got to know each other pretty well. You go out and, you know, do your cycle and you do your 5K and whatever, but you know, you're a professional athlete. Henry gets up at the crack of dawn, runs as far as he possibly can, gets a plate of fruit and chia seeds and nuts and heaven knows what else, and his body's a temple.
He's an athlete.
I roll out of bed at 5 to 10. Sit around.
Henry gets our table at breakfast. We like to sit at a similar one each time.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm kind of like elderly, malcoordinated and helpless. So when I see
I don't know what you
boy
mean.
over here fall down, it just sort of, I don't know, just makes me feel kind of strangely smug.
No,
you know?
Henry really enjoys being called fruit boy.
But you've never seen so much fruit in your life.
He's healthy.
Honestly, there are fruit bats that eat less fruit than Henry is. Malaba is in, and this is chipped in the air and caught at point. McGrath's got to go. A claggy innings comes to an end. It was Malaba. She got a bit of grip, a bit of turn. It was slow as well, as Tash just points out to me, 45 miles an hour, tossed up. And McGrath, who's looked to get on with it since Drinks went after it, but it skewed off the outside half of the bat, and it offered the absolutely most simple of chances to Dirksen. She was not going to drop that. And McGrath goes for 27. Australia 68 for 3.
Brilliant bowling from Malaba. After that first over that she bowled in the 6th over, the last over of the power play, she was bowling too quickly, actually, I felt. So she slowed it right down. And what McGrath's been trying to do is stay leg side of the ball to try and access, go over that offside field. So that is really clever bowling from Malaba. A little bit slower, tucking her up for room. And McGrath has to go. She just wasn't able to get going. You feel with such power. She just looked a proddy and pokey at the beginning of her innings, but I think that's a really clever bit from the left-arm spinner of South Africa. She's been brilliant in this tournament. I think that's her 10th wicket now in the tournament. I hope I'm right there, but she has been so good for South Africa. I think they've communicated well within that spinning trio that they're using tonight.
That is indeed her 10th wicket. And it brings to the crease Elise Perry, who sometimes comes in at 3, but now down at 5 today. Malaba is into her. First ball turns, she plays it from the crease, defends back to the bowler. There's no run. This is a very key passage of play now. The next few overs, South Africa will look to suffocate Australia with the new batter in. Perry's going to need to get going pretty quickly. She comes down the wicket, drives this in the air. It's going to land about extra cover. Fielder in pursuit. Wolfhard drags it back. And they take 2. Perry wants a 3rd. She probably wants a 14th for speed she can run, but she's only going to get 2. 70 for 3. It wasn't hit with great authority. It was a good idea because the field's up inside the offside. There's a long off back, but she was looking to go extra cover, so it's a clever shot. She didn't quite time it, but she gets off the mark with it. Malaba into her again. And she waits and tucks this into the onside square of the wicket. She'll look for 2 again, but actually... no, she's just going to amble that first run. Just a single. 71 for 3. We're coming close to the end of the 13th over. What a contrast this is with the last innings we saw played on this ground, when Kiana Joseph and Hayley Matthews swung for the hills. They shocked, surprised, ambushed England with their aggression and assault on the bowlers. Australia, on the other hand, taking a softly approach, almost, as we said, like they've got a target in mind, they think they can get to it. Malaba is in to the left-handed Mooney, who comes down the wicket. Ball gets tangled in pad. Jafta's very quick to it, realised what was going on there and managed to tidy up by running from behind the stumps. A dot ball. 71 for 3. Mooney now 27 from 28.
Yeah, Malaba, she goes to joint leading wicket taker in this competition so far with Amelia Kerr.
Last ball of the over is driven down the ground, flat, up to long on. They want to keep it to 1 as the throw comes in from Nadine de Klerk. It's just a single. Love the way Nadine de Klerk wears a sun hat. Very big, floppy sun hat.
It falls off as well every time she runs towards the ball. Like, it never stays on the head.
Like Stuart Broad, I think we calculated that it was every 9th step would be when Stuart Broad's hat fell off.
I think Nadine de Klerk's on average 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it stayed on this time, but you sense only just. And it seems there's something slightly incongruous about the floppy sun hat.
Well, they've changed over time, the floppy hat as well. There used to be sort of a stiff brim.
That's right,
Whereas now, and I'm not sure I like the new version.
No, they're a bit lazy, aren't they?
They are a bit lazy, and they're just like, they get bigger and bigger. It's probably why they're falling off the head, too much surface area.
Like, sort of like the floppy ears of a cartoon rabbit, really. 72 for 3, 13 overs gone. Start of a new over. First ball is whacked out towards deep mid-wicket by Mooney, but she picks out the fielder, and there'll only be the 1 run as Bosch runs round to her left. Chloe Tryon back in the attack for her 3rd over. Interesting this. When does... I think Nadine de Klerk has probably been lined up for some horrible overs of take the pace off near the end.
That new sort of leggy that she's bowling.
Yeah, that's going to be key, you fancy.
Yeah. But she has to use it wisely. She can't telegraph every single time. She needs to... She can bowl the Yorker as well, so she just needs to make sure she gets the balance between slow balls and that quicker one as well.
I just feel this is a key over as Perry goes back into a crease, pushes up to short extra cover, no run. The reason being that this is Tryon's 3rd. Lisa's bowled 2. They don't want de Klerk to bowl 4, far from it. Probably 1 more, 2 more tops, you would think, with the other bowlers bowling out as Tryon is in. This is pulled out towards deep mid-wicket. They might get 2 here. It's gone between 2 fielders, but she does well to get round as the fielders at mid-wicket. And there's just the single. 74 for 3. South Africa will be... Well, look, you know, they know what Australia can do. In a blink of an eye, everything can change, but they will feel that this has gone as well as they could have expected so far. As Tryon stays round the wicket to the left-handed Mooney. She drives in the air, so close to a diving cover. They've run 1. They're going to come back for 2. They'll make it. As Dirksen lumbers after the ball, gets there, throws in. That was so close to Wolfart. She was very fortunate, Mooney.
I think she might have got a fingertip to this. If she did, that's a really good effort from Wolfart. Oh, not quite. But I've seen Laura Wolfart take some speckies. She used to field in the point region when she wasn't captain. She's actually more at a conventional cover now.
What was that catch? Was it in the last World Cup? She took an absolute
screamer.
Stunner. It's an amazing catch.
She's got great hands, Laura Wolfart. She did drop a couple of catches, actually, in one of their games in this tournament, which is really unlike her.
Well, everybody's dropping catches.
Well, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, John T. Rhodes is dropping catches in this tournament. Right, Chloe Tryon, eyes one-eyed open. He's in. This one up. Gets struck on the pad. She loves it, but no, says the umpire. They're going to have a word here. Wolfart's having a word because it was very full. She went on the sweep, did Mooney, and they've got referrals left. They've got 2 up their sleeve, and I think they have taken it, haven't they? They have. Yeah. Right, here we go. This will be interesting.
Yeah, I think this is a freebie of a referral. They've got 2 left. There's only 6.2 overs left after this, and if you got Beth Mooney out now, that is a huge wicket. My thought would be it's a bit leg side with the angle that she's bowling.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're seeing the replay now, and and everybody's realised that there's no chance.
But I think that's the right thing.
I say that.
I mean, I have literally got every single one of these wrong, so this is probably going to be out.
Well, I can't see any of the stuff. Well, I can see the bottom of the off stump, unfortunately, and it's quite a long way from the ball.
They thought it wasn't out, but now they're coming back together, South Africa.
Right, here we go. Here we go. Well, it's going to pitch outside leg. That's the problem with it. Yeah, it pitches outside leg. Because it was delivered from around the wicket to the left hand, and that was always a problem. She needed it.
Yeah, it's a tough angle to get LBWs from.
It's not miles outside leg. It's only about an inch or so, but leg bye has been signalled by the umpire. 77 for 3.
You can't blame them for going for that, though, can you?
No.
That's a huge wicket, and they had 2, and how often do you use both in your innings?
Perry on strike, pulls out. Oh, him again in between deep mid-wicket and square leg, but there will only be one. That's really good fielding out there on the boundary, because for all the world I thought that's going to be another classic Australian 2, but it wasn't. 6 runs from the over, 78 for 3. The run rate is only a tick over 5.5 and over. 6 overs left. 10 and over from here would get Australia to 138. They would have wanted 150. That's 72 away. That's basically 2 ballers. But Dosmunda can sit back down, and with 2 overs of Malaba, an over of Kaka, and an over of Cap still to be bowled, South Africa would be looking to finagle a couple of overs from Nadine de Klerk and Tryon. Imagine.
I'd go for Nadine, actually.
Yeah. Soon? Is she going to bowl the next over, you think, after Malaba's
Yeah,
third?
I think so, because ideally you want Cup and Kaka to bowl 1 each at the end.
Malaba starts a new over. Full, driven, down the ground. Bounces just in front of Nadine de Klerk at long off, and it's just a single. But I can tell you, is this pitch slower? Is it more awkward than the ones we've been seeing lately? Because they're struggling a lot here, Australia. In fairness to Malaba, she's been very clever. She's taken a lot of pace off the ball. She's given the ball a lot of flight, asked a lot of questions. And as Mooney is back on strike, been there from the beginning, 31 from 32. She's not had anything like half the balls. As Malaba is in, down a wicket she comes, drills this through extra cover, and again, that's not brilliant fielding. This time, Wolfhard, who just gets half a hand on it, and keeps the score into 2. But if I've had a criticism of South Africa, it's been in the infield. There've been a couple that have gone through. There was a 4 that went through. Tasmin Brits. There's too many.
Not Tamsin or any
Tams,
other version of it. It's Dirksen I've been the most worried about. I think she hasn't fielded as well as I would have liked to see. Bosch has been good.
Yep, Bosch has been good.
Mostly at point, but there is a little bit of scattiness, isn't there?
Well, yeah. I mean, might be awkward and scabrous out there. Seeing a lot of that happening sort of on the square as well, aren't we? As Malaba is in. Down a wicket comes Mooney, but Malaba sees her coming very cleverly. Just drops the length, and then a throw is hurled in, and that's another part of this. South Africa just got to be a little bit calmer here. They gave away an overthrow earlier.
Yeah, they did.
And that's just a totally unnecessary bullet throw when neither batter is running. You don't really want to be
just hurt your bowler, exactly.
Yeah, what are your premier bowlers if not your premier in this situation? Mooney in again. Gets this down the ground. It goes up towards long off. Chloe Tryon runs round, keeps her eye on the ball, and get back for a couple of runs as the throw comes into the non-striker's end. It was in the air a long time, but Mooney is just not getting the boundaries. 35 balls she's faced, just the 1-4 so far. The score 83 for 3. 2 balls remain in the 15th over.
And only 5 4s in the innings so far, actually, so...
Extraordinary, isn't it? It's guided to short third. They're going to go through for a quick single. Try at the stumps. Oh, that's close. But I think Perry's home.
Yeah.
She's very quick, Perry. She called immediately. It went behind square. It was her call. She said, yup. But again, it's just another single. Australia, they are ticking the score over, but it's only ticking, as Dosmunda says. 5 boundaries, and you think what the West Indies achieved, they had 5 boundaries in the first 2 overs against England.
Absolutely. I mean, that was an out-of-this-world chase.
This is it high in the air. It's going over extra cover. It's going to land safely. 3 fielders converge on it. De Klerk runs round from long off. She's the one who gets to it, throws in on the bounce, the non-striker's end. 8 off the over, but it wasn't a comfortable 8 by any means. 86 for 3. 5 overs remain. And Australia are in a little bit of a pickle here. They've got the time and they've got the batters to get themselves out of this pickle, but if they're going to extract themselves from it, it has to be now for Dosmunda. Then
yeah,
to take it to the end of the innings, it will be Henry Moran.
I do keep thinking that each over that goes by, this is the time that Australia are going to go for it, and we haven't really seen that yet. But there was 3 times in that previous over bowled by Nonkululeko Malaba that the ball went up in the air and just into no woman's land, really. So the chances are being created, the ball's falling in all sorts of places. I'm feeling quite scatty myself sitting here.
Don't you worry. We're going to get through it all together, and it'll be okay. Whatever happens, I think it's been a compelling first innings, this, because Australia have struggled to get away. We've only seen the 5 boundaries across the innings. 40 dot balls across 15 overs. Mooney have run a ball. Margaraj struggling to get away. Perry's there 8 from 8. I mean, these two can get going, and suddenly, you know, they could go at 11 and over or 12 and over, and you would find 150 would be in sight. But at the moment, they're not finding a way just to get away as they'd want. We've still got 1 over from Malaba, 1 from Kaka and Cap as well. And we're going to see Chloe Tryon with her final over now from the far end of the ground to the left-handed Mooney. In comes Tryon. Quicker ball this time. Cries of catch. It goes towards the middle. Oh, the fumble from Sule Lees. It was hit hard, but they will only get the 1 run.
Yeah, that's what Dan was talking about. South Africa's infield fielding has been a little bit, or in the ring fielding, just something hasn't quite clicked there. They're not as clean as I would have liked them to be.
And here comes Tryon again. Perry will work the ball out towards the leg side, pushing hard for the first, but even she and Mooney won't get back for a second. I mean, one thing that is so noticeable watching the warm-ups, Australia missed nothing. With the ball hit hard at their fielders, they just pick it up. It's almost like a computer game. It's just sort of all so smooth and clean, and they throw down the stumps. And they're an elite team. They really are. Here comes Tryon running into bowl to Mooney, coming down the track, getting in a right old tangle. Wants the run. There isn't one. Ball played into the pads, and she can't get it away. Again, looking to go big downtown. 88 for 3.
Yeah, and this is not a bad start from Chloe Tryon. I actually didn't think she should bowl out. So just 2 runs from the first 3 balls.
Here comes Tryon, bowling to Mooney. A little bit quicker. It's hammered into the leg side. This could be a boundary. Oh, it is. Drops just to the left of Marizanne Cap, and not far from gentleman waving a big flag saying, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. It's 4 runs and a little bit of pressure relieved. 92 for 3. The 100 is in sight for Australia. Tryon's frustrated as Mooney came galloping forward. She managed to get a big enough piece of it. Cap was interested for a while, but it was out of the range of the South African all-rounder on the boundary. Probably the one player you'd want out there, really.
Yeah, for sure. Her or Tasman Brits, who of course we know is an exceptional fielder, but I don't think she would have got that either.
Quick once again. Worked square on the leg side for 1 more, but it'll only be 1. 7 from the over so far.
1 here, Chloe, 1 here, Chloe.
1 here, Chloe, is the cry from Sinala Jafta behind the stumps.
She's earned her money today as Sinala Jafta. There was a word rate for her.
Yeah.
She'd be doing exceptionally well, and she's very important in keeping them motivated.
Forward comes Perry, crunching it down towards long off for a single, but it's only a single, and the over comes to an end with 8 from it. 4 remain in the innings. Australia 94 for 3. They've not managed to get away here. They'd have to go at 11 and over to make it to 138. By the way, Beth Mooney's reached 3,000 T20 international runs with that quickly taken single. She looks absolutely knackered. She looks like she's run most of them over the course of the last hour or so. She's down on her haunches.
Well, she hasn't hit many boundaries, just the 2 from her. So what is that? 34 runs in singles and 2s, and she's been running those 2s so hard as Beth Mooney. Elise Perry, we know, is so quick. Oftentimes she's 2/3 of the way into the 2nd run, and her partner will just be beginning that.
Well, Tash said she saw Elise Perry in the gym this morning. Oof. Daniel and I saw her at the hotel reception with a sort of very sporty looking bike that she was hoping to take to her room with one of those adapters that means you can cycle in your room.
That is very ambitious.
I know. I mean, it's
wow.
That's why.
This morning?
No, that was a couple of days ago.
Okay, so she didn't do it on game day.
She was in the gym on game day.
That's good.
Which is a good effort. 94 for 3. Here comes Marizanne Cap running into bowl to the aforementioned Elise Perry. Cap bowls a ball which is hit firmly towards backward point. That is fielded cleanly by Annika Bosch.
Yeah, and this is the over that I think if we don't see some sort of acceleration here, I think then South Africa might start to feel a bit calmer, because they've got an over from Kap, an over from Kaka, 1 more from Malaba. So where's the 4th coming from?
Here comes Cap into bowl. A delivery to Elise Perry, who comes forward and mistimes a heave into the onside. Run is the cry. They'll turn for a second. They should get it as well. The bullet arm of Annery Dirksen out on the leg side boundary will pick up. 96 for 3. Mooney again down on her haunches, looking exhausted. And you know, there's a clever little thing on our monitor where they're measuring how fast Mooney is running up and down the track. And
that is fast.
Here comes Marizanne Cap, bowls a ball with the pace taken just off it. It's a good tumbling save by Dirksen, moving to her right to stop the second run. 3 from the over, and she was topping out, sprinting down the 22 yards at 25 kilometres an hour, which is about 5 kilometres an hour faster than a treadmill will allow you to go.
Oh, really? So you've taken the treadmill all the way to the fastest?
Yeah, just to see what...
Oh,
but
I'm very impressed.
Not to run, but just to...
Oh, just to see it.
Yeah.
All right. 25 kilometres an hour is really fast.
Yeah, and that is, you know, sprint. I mean, the fitness of the teams that manage to push these twos as well as they do and keep on batting and making good decisions. It's amazing. Here comes Cap bowling to Mooney, who hammers that down the ground. Fielder running round his trial. She'll pick up cleanly. Throw comes in, and Mooney again scampering up and down. They'll get 2 runs, but only 2. 5 from the over so far. 6 balls since the lesser spotted boundary we saw in the previous over. 99 for 3.
Mooney really looks tired to me now, on her haunches at the end of that second run, and you can see her just kind of breathing very deeply, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. She looks absolutely shattered. But
she's also got to keep wicket.
Well, I know. She's up now, though, waiting for Cap, who comes around the wicket to bowl, and this is going to be chipped back towards the bowler. Could be a chance of a run out of it. Hits, and it does. Now, Mooney dived back into her ground. The question is, has Cap managed to throw the stumps down in time? They're going to check it, but the reaction, from what I'm seeing, suggests there's not much interest from South Africa.
No, not even Sonala Jafta looks very interested, and... Oh. I wonder if that bat's in the air.
Do you know, I think she's got the bat upside down, and so the toe end of the bat, which, if you had it face down, would be over the line, isn't. I think Mooney might be out here, and the South African supporters below us think so too. Decision pending, and that decision is going to be out. I'm sure of it, and it is. Mooney goes 44 from 42, and Australia 99 for 4. I mean, there may be, in some ways, no bad thing to get a fresh batter out there. I mean, Mooney's done her bit, goodness. But Litchfield will come to the middle.
She was very dangerous against India, was Phoebe Litchfield. She only scored 15 from memory, but it was 15 very important runs, including a 6 off the last ball. And we know what she can do. We know that she can take Australia to super challenging totals. So I'm actually quite nervous of this for South Africa. I think having a tired Mooney out there is better than having a fresh Litchfield.
The thing is, Phyllis, it could be 1 run to win, 10 wickets in hand and 10 overs left, and you'd still be saying you were quite nervous.
Okay, I'm gonna, if I use that word one more time on air today, you're welcome to dismiss me.
No, it's fair enough. But the thing is, semi-final when it's all on the line.
And South Africa, it's a South African thing. We have been here so many times before. Wow. And yet there's still a little bit of hope.
Of course, there's always hope. Litchfield on strike, another left-hander, as here comes Cap to bowl to her, and she hits that hard away through the offside, and for 4, what a good start. It was a little bit short and wide, and Nadine de Klerk in pursuit won't quite cut it off. And so the 100 comes up for Australia, and there's a bouncy stride to Litchfield and a sense that she means business. That's a boundary to conclude an over that brings 9, and Australia, with 3 overs remaining, are 103 for 4.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was worried about, was that Litchfield, we know, hits the ball really hard. She pounces on anything wide, and she hasn't been out there for 17 overs. It's not as hot today, so I don't think Beth Mooney's exhaustion is so much from the heat as from the actual physical exertion of running so many. And I think this is a really interesting time now, because Malaba's got 1 over, Kaka's got 1, and I guess Nadine de Klerk will have to bowl the last one.
It's going to be interesting. It's Malaba now, by the way. We've got 3 overs bowled by her thus far. 1 for 20. She moves in now, left arm spin around the wicket to bowl to Perry, deep in the crease for 1. Down the ground it goes. A familiar shot as Sune Lee's fields at the second attempt. I think what intrigues me here is at what point does Perry start trying to swing for the hills? Because she's got that in the locker. She can clear any boundary in the world. And she's so technically correct as a player that sometimes that brute force is sacrificed in place of just ensuring the strike rotates. But at some stage, Australia are going to feel they've got to get a bit of a wheel on. Here comes Malaba over the wicket to the left-handed Litchfield, who comes down the track, whips it up towards long on the bounce for 1. It is only the 1 run, so 105 for 4. We've had 2 balls of the 18th over. For the first time in a long time, Australia's run rate ticks over a run a ball.
And we were talking about this, or I don't know if we were, but it was being talked about as a 170 pitch.
Yeah. Malaba bowls to Perry, hammering the ball into the leg side as well. Boulders, again, just back of a length, but not short. Hard to get away, and Perry, who's a back foot player, will look to try and always access those angles. 106 for 4, midway through the 18th over. Malaba has become the first South African woman to take 10 wickets at a T20 World Cup. Has 1 for 23 and 3 balls left of her spell. 3 singles to start this crucial 18th over. The ball is whipped towards mid-wicket, and that will be a dot ball.
Yeah,
I say mid-wicket, it was a switch shot from Litchfield. Exactly. It became so. It was actually cover.
She likes that shot, doesn't she? We've seen her play that a lot.
Malaba bowling to Litchfield, who comes down the track. What a shot that is. Smashing the ball away over mid-off and getting 4 runs. It's brilliant batting from this prodigious talent from New South Wales. 110 for 4.
Yeah, that is the danger that we knew was coming with Phoebe Litchfield at the crease. She's taken a couple of steps down, and it's just the clean hitting for me that really emphasizes how good she is. We've seen a couple of those shots taking, you know, slight under edge or splice of the bat. She gets it all.
Gives herself some space, goes hard again into the offside, clears the infield again. There's a chase on for Sune Luz, but she will not cut it off. And that is going to be 114 for 4 after 18 overs. Danger perhaps now. Litchfield 13 from 5. And punches gloves with Elise Perry. Back-to-back boundaries. The over goes for 11. We've got 12 balls left of the innings. The match could so easily be determined by what we see in the next 10 minutes or so.
It's not Khululeko Mlaba's most expensive spell of the tournament as well. She's been really good, really economical. This time 31 runs from her 4 overs, so going at around 7.5 an over, which is very, very unusual for her. And it's really those 2 boundaries right at the end. I don't think she'll be too happy with that, despite becoming the joint leading wicket taker of the tournament in today's game.
Well, that's the most profitable over of the innings. And we're going to see Nadine de Klerk bowling to Elise Perry with the keeper standing up. Field spread on the leg side. And de Klerk will come bustling in once more over the wicket. And Perry will whip that ball out towards backward square leg for a single. She won't be disappointed to get off strike and bring Litchfield along, who always looks like she means business. Shirt tucked in, sleeves rolled up. It looks like a very sort of serious business. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's a sense of purpose.
Definitely. I mean, 13 or 5 also tells you that she's the one that's going to go. I mean, you were asking, I wonder when Perry will put the foot down, but I think it's Litchfield who's going to.
Intriguing here with mid-off now up, and round the wicket comes de Klerk to bowl to the left-handed Litchfield. Flogs that ball down the ground, but on the bounce towards Tasmin Brits for a single. And so just 2 runs from the first 2 balls of the over. Australia 116 for 4. All that talk of 160, 170. I mean, you don't know a pitch is going to play, and it is a used surface. It's not been used for a while.
Yeah, either we're very wrong or South Africa have bowled very well.
Well, I think the combination of the 2, perhaps, as in comes de Klerk. Worked away out towards deep mid-wicket, but again, straight to the fielder. It's Bosch out on the boundary. 3 balls left of the 19th over.
Very important for Nadine de Klerk to try and get out of this over. I want to say without conceding a boundary, which is probably a good indication that the next ball might go for 4.
In comes de Klerk again, round the wicket to bowl to Litchfield, coming forward, slapping the ball towards mid-off. Try will field, and in the end, I don't mind that from a fielding perspective, because sometimes you see teams thinking, well, they're running, I'm going to throw, but there was no one backing up, and so she's made the decision not to. And 4 from the over so far, the light shining down. South Africa have bowled really well today. Yeah, it's only 4 wickets, but look at that score, 118. In comes de Klerk. Perry goes down the ground, it's gone in the air. Tasmin Brits running in, drops it. And they'll get back for a second. It was not the easiest, it wasn't the hardest. 2 runs taken, 1 ball left of the 19th.
If there's one fielder that you are going to back in that situation, it's Tasmin Brits. She took 4 catches in that semi-final when South Africa beat England last year. She did have to make quite a lot of ground, but this is the way we've seen catches being dropped throughout this tournament. She's looking up into that ring of fire, and it's just popped in and popped out. I can't explain it. I've tried to come up with explanations for, I think that's the 76th catch dropped this tournament.
No way. Here comes de Klerk's final ball. Perry slams it through cover and gets 4. Brilliant shot. And those are the margins. You drop someone, they score a boundary, and suddenly what should have been 1 becomes 2, and then the 4. 10 from the over, though, that's all. 100, I say that's all. It's the 19th over and you're against Australia. And
that's a lot of runs, yeah. I think 10 from the over is way more than Nadine de Klerk will be happy with.
I agree with that, but I don't think it is fatal to the South African cause here. So Australia 124 for 4. If you'd offered South Africa this at the beginning of the game, they'd have bitten your hand off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything 140 or under, they'll probably be quite happy with. And 140 doesn't sound like a lot of runs, but against Australia, I think 140 is 180, possibly 170. Especially against Megan Schutt, who does not concede.
Well, that's true. There's a sort of Jasprit Bumrah quality there.
Absolutely.
Where you sort of almost factor those overs slightly differently because of what they can do. 21 runs have come from the last 2 overs. Here comes Ayabonga Kaka to bowl the final of the 20. Litchfield deep in the crease. Oh, swings hard and misses a Yorker. That is brilliant bowling. Right outside that off stump. It was quick as well.
Yeah, quicker than she usually bowls. It came up at 104 kilometers an hour. And Ayabonga Kaka, if there is a bowler that I think South Africa have done well to keep for this last over, it's her. She's very difficult to get away generally.
Kaka is in. Litchfield tries to angle it away. Will only find a tumbling try on at short third, so it'll be a single. Gets Perry onto strike. 125 for 4. And a reminder, tomorrow morning, resumption of play between England and Pakistan from Multan. England needing 261 runs with 8 wickets in hand for a highly improbable victory on that. What will be at that point a day 9 surface.
Very interesting, those test matches, aren't they? I've been keeping an eye on them. Never say never.
Never say never. Here comes Kaka here. Women's T20 World Cup action from Dubai. Kaka bowls to Perry, who smacks it down the ground. Past the bowler, it should be 4 runs this, I fancy, and it is. It's good batting from Perry. Managed to negate the length by just advancing forward, making it a half volley. And crashes it past the bowler for a boundary. 129 for 4. Brilliant batting from Perry. She's 27.
She just hit that really... She placed it really well. She hit it nice and straight. And there is a long on and a long off, but nobody was going to get there. I think that's the best shot we've seen from her.
Kaka over the wicket to bowl to Perry, who will not get a boundary on this occasion. She may get 2, turning for the second. Throw will come in from Lees. Good throw as well, but good dive from Litchfield. And they do get a second. 131 for 4 is the Australia total.
2 balls left, so 140 is still realistic.
Yep. Oh, it's interesting.
It's nerve-wracking.
Fascinating cricket.
And a great battle, which is actually what we wanted to see from these matches.
It is. Yeah, certainly is. In comes Kaka to bowl to Perry, coming forward, working the ball square on the leg side. Long chase out there for Brits, who will pick up before a 3rd run can be even considered. But it is 2. So Perry will face the final ball of the innings. 133 for 4. During the break, we'll be hearing from the England head coach, John Lewis, on England's elimination. And this Perry is just past 500 runs in Women's T20 World Cup cricket.
She doesn't have a 50 in this format, which is quite surprising to me.
In the World Cup.
In the World Cup, yeah.
Here comes Kaká then to bowl the final ball of the innings. Perry, we'll see that down the leg side. Oh, it's always when I announce it as the final ball of the innings, then a wider signal.
There's a lesson to you.
Well, I know. I got overexcited. 134 for 4. We've got one ball left. That was that Yorker attempted again, trying to take off the toes of the Australian great. 134 for 4. Kaká will try again. This very straight approach of 10 or so paces. As she runs in, a bowls to Perry, who whips it away into the leg side and into the hands of the fielder, who takes a fine catch. Many sides could take notes from Tasmin Brits with the safe hands in the deep. It is a catch that will see Australia conclude their innings with 134 on the board for the loss of 5. Perry out for 31. And for a place in the World Cup final and eliminating a side that do not do semi-final knockouts, South Africa need 135 runs. For Mundi, your thoughts?
I think if you had told South Africa this at the start, they would happily have taken it, because we all thought this was a 160 or 170 pitch. But having seen the way Australia batted, and they were pretty cautious and conservative at the start and in the first 10 overs, I actually think this is maybe a 150 pitch maximum. And I think it's going to be a really nervy chase. South Africa know what they need to do, which is what they wanted. Laura Wolfhard decided, let's bowl first, let's make sure we know exactly what we need. And they've got a top 3, 4 players, maybe even 6, who are capable of chasing this down. But I think we're going to have a nail biter. We're going to be sitting here at over 19. I won't be sitting here. I'll just be somewhere panicking and biting my nails and typing.
That's okay. That's fair enough, Vanessa, and I can understand that. So the innings played out with Australia asked to bat first by South Africa, and putting on just 7 runs for the loss of the first wicket, with Grace Harris caught well by Annika Bosch, a backward point off the bowling of Kaka's first ball for 3. Georgia Wareham followed not long after, caught behind on review off Marizanne Cap for 5. And then Talia McGrath got really bogged down, 27 off 33, before being caught by Dirksen off Malaba, who we're going to hear from in just a moment. Beth Mooney played brilliantly again, run out by Cap towards the end of the innings on 44, and the final wicket to fall, that of Elise Perry. Final ball of the innings, she made 31 from 23, and Phoebe Litchfield was unbeaten there at the end, 16 from 9. Very valuable runs. So Nonkululeko Malaba with 1, Ayabonga Kaká with 2, Marizanne Cap with 1 as well, and at the end of all that, 134 for 5. Right then, let's go down to the boundary edge in just a moment, but first let's talk through a little bit of how the innings it progressed in terms of run rate. Started with a power play with a run rate under 6, then over 7 to 10. A run rate at only 4.5 was really slow. It picked up final 5 overs that were going at close to 10s, but by that point they were quite far behind the game in terms of the speed they were going. So Kasnadu is on the boundary edge, and we can get some reaction now.
10 wickets in the competition so far, the most by a South African in a single edition of the Women's T20 World Cup. What has worked for you this competition?
Well, for me, I think what really worked for me in this competition was the changes of pace. I just threw one of my arm balls there, but today I think what really worked was ball it slower. But yeah.
Big challenge playing against Australia in any format. How did you find the challenge out there today? 1 for 31 in your 4 overs.
Was definitely not an easy one for me. It was really hard, but I managed somehow to bowl 4 overs for 31 runs. I think that was a good one, especially against Australia, because I know that they can always come hard at me. But yeah, I'm really happy, and I think that's a good score also to chase for our batters.
I was just going to say that. How did you think the surface is likely to play in the second half of the game, and can you chase 135?
I think, yes, obviously we can. That's a good score to chase for our batters, and I know they're capable of doing that. And yeah, I can't wait to watch our batters put on some runs there on the board.
Well bowled today.
Thank you.
Thoughts there of Nonkululeko Malaba, who picked up 1 for 31, and in doing so becomes the first South African woman to take 10 wickets during a T20 World Cup. Of course, 135 is the target for a place in the World Cup final, and it is a dream England can forget about, because they were knocked out of this tournament here 2 nights ago by West Indies, not even making the semi-finals. Massive disappointment for an England side with real ambitions and hopes and expectations of the final as a bare minimum. Well, the inquest from the early exit continues. Yesterday I caught up with the head coach, John Lewis.
It was a tough one to take, because it was a game we felt confident we could win, and we felt like we've been playing some really good cricket coming into the tournament, and actually throughout the tournament as well. Felt in a really good space, and you know, West Indies came, they threw some pretty big punches at us, and we didn't cope with them as well as we should have done, and or could have done. So yeah, we're really disappointed. But sport is sport, and there's always a winner and a loser. Unfortunately, we've come out on the wrong side of the result.
What do you think did go wrong in the game in terms of what England could have done better?
There was a few things that went wrong. We could have got a few more runs than we did. Obviously, Heather's injury was really unfortunate at the time that happened, but that obviously is, again, that can happen. I felt like we maybe could have got another 10 or 15 or so with Heather stayed in with Nat there at that point in time, and we managed to accelerate through the back end of the innings. But we did find boundaries hard to come by, in particular through the middle part of the innings. And when we got off at half time, I think we felt like we had a score that we could definitely defend. And then the West Indies came out and I thought played really smart, aggressive cricket, really clinical in how they struck the ball, and we missed some opportunities, you know, to take catches in what proved to be quite a tough ground to be catching on, and what has proved to be. And you know, it was disappointing that we weren't able to convert those chances. I think if we had taken those early chances, then we probably would have come out on top of the game.
Any regrets in terms of plans, team selection?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we got our matchups right. If we'd executed this with the skills that we know we can do, and in a World Cup, in a knockout situation, if you don't play to the best of your ability, and someone else capitalises on that in a crunch game, then you know you can lose. So that's what happened to us yesterday. 2020 is a pretty brutal format where one or two players can take the game away from you. So it's it's unfortunate, but we'll think about where it all didn't go quite right and think about what we can do better. We'll come away from this, hopefully learn as a team and get better from it.
After 2023 semi-final elimination, the message was dealing with pressure moments. How do you do that? Because in the summer, England weren't really challenged and played brilliantly well against good teams, but it was dominant. How do you recreate pressure moments and ensure that teams can cope better with it?
Well, it's incredibly hard in training, not impossible, but incredibly hard to get regular high pressure moments. And I would say, I suppose, in game time, there are, for us as a team, like you say, over the last 18 months or so, our biggest pressure moments were probably against the Australians. However, we were the underdogs the whole way through that. So it's a different type of pressure. The pressure of expectation is, and expecting to win games of cricket is very different. But that happens to us a lot of the time through the summer. Against Pakistan, we're expected to win. Against New Zealand, a lot of the time we're expected to win. You know, we're expected to come out on top the majority of the times. So there are pressures of expectation, but then you add the additional factor of knockout cricket, which happens very rarely in the way that we play our cricket, and we play a lot of bilateral series. So they only really come round. Those moments only really come round at World Cups, and potentially sometimes in Ashes series. But so they are really, really difficult to recreate. And we'll go away and unpick what happened yesterday and talk to our players, and individually and as a group and collectively, and we'll work out, you know, what it is that we can do to try and help the players deal with the moments that they're in. We've done a lot of work on that, and it doesn't quite paid off as best we can. I think losing our captain was a really crucial moment in the game. She's obviously got a real calming influence on the rest of the side, and also can give some really nice direction at times around the tactics of the game. And you know, Heather's a really, really experienced captain, and that leadership, the qualities that she brings to the side, I think was a big miss for us in that situation.
Are there any worries that there isn't that depth of leadership to fall upon?
I don't think it's not a worry. It's something we need to work at, and we need to develop, and we need to think about who are the right people to eventually take over from Heather at some point in the future.
Some have said in the last 24 hours, course of the tournament, that England and certain members of the side haven't looked as fit as, say, an Australia team. Do you think that's fair?
No, not really. I don't actually know. We train really, really hard. Our players are very fit, and yeah, I'm surprised that people would say that. Actually, that fitness was absolutely nothing to do with us losing that game yesterday, and our players work incredibly hard around their physical fitness across the board.
Thoughts there of the England head coach John Lewis chatting to me last night at the team hotel after England's elimination from this T20 World Cup at the hands of West Indies, who take on New Zealand tomorrow evening. Local time in Sharjah will be on air at 2:45 UK time. for West Indies against New Zealand. Right then, who will they be facing? The winners of that game. Will it be South Africa or Australia? South Africa, they bowled well, now they've got to bat well. 135 is the target. Some thoughts from Tash Farrant, England bowler, and then Daniel Norcross.
Yeah, well, South Africa, I think they'll be pretty buzzing with that first innings. And keeping Australia to 134, only 5 wickets down as well. It was that period between the 7th and the 10th over where they were going at 4.5 and over. They just really struggled to get any fluency in their batting. So South Africa would have definitely taken 134 at the beginning of this game, but we did see it didn't look that easy to bat on by the way that Australia batted. They actually are probably one of the best teams at assessing conditions, so we don't quite know what this pitch is doing, but South Africa will be really happy with keeping them to 134. It is a game that they can win now, so it will just be interesting to see what this pitch looks like in this second innings.
11 fours is all Australia hit there. 11 fours, which is fewer than England hit the other night against the West Indies. You recall, England got 141 against the West Indies. It is a different pitch, but it's on the same square and it's the same outfield. There isn't a short side, I would say. The pitch field feels very central on this square, so there is that as well. And the West Indies did very well in targeting the shorter boundaries. I say that, Kiana Joseph sort of targeted whichever boundary was on offer, really, and she made every boundary look really small with the power of her hitting. But here we go, Megan Shute, who's had an extraordinary tournament. She's going at, well, no runs and over. First ball is defended by Laura Wolfhard into the offside, and there's no run. I'll give you a little bit more on that. 8 for 47 she's taken in 14.2 overs, so barely 3 runs and over. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, she's bowled brilliantly, and actually she bowled that crucial over in that tight game against India. The 17th over only went for 1 run.
Yeah, she had, though, been given, not tap exactly, but they did get after a little bit in that game as Wolfhard flicks away, ball on the pads. It goes out towards deep square leg. They're going to get a single. They're underway. That's a run out to Elise Perry, who earlier today got a little bit stuck. 31 she got from 23, a couple of late boundaries rather, getting her up beyond a strike rate of 100. It was Phoebe Litchfield who did the real damage, coming in just at the back end there. Struck 3 boundaries in double quick time. At one point, Australia only had 5 boundaries, I think, after about 12, 13 overs. It was amazing stuff. Short, pulled away, fine, by Tasnim Bretz. That's going to run down towards the long leg boundary. They should have got 2 there, but Perry is very quick. She fires in a throw over Mooney's head. It was a bit short. Unusual from Megan. You don't normally see that early, do you? The bouncer so quickly.
No, you don't at all. And I think Tasman Britz has missed out on a bit of a freebie there, because you kind of got a wide, fine leg, so there's a huge gap in the fine leg region, but just could only get 1.
Shoot into Wolfhard, who drives elegantly but can't get it past extra cover. There's no run. Why do I struggle with Tasmin Britz?
You really, yeah.
I really do. I mean, it's been 2 competitions now.
Oh, really? It's been an ongoing thing.
Yeah. I mean, I reckon
and
this
maybe
must
it's
be
because you're used to Tamsin.
I think it's that. And then I thought, is it Tasnim?
Yeah, yeah. You're very good at pronouncing names as well. So it's just a one-off.
She does it for me. This is short, slapped a short mid-wicket, and there's no run. She used to be a javelin thrower.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just missed out on, I think, that Olympics javelin, but just... I haven't seen this from Megan Shute. She's actually dropped a couple short here, which I don't think is intentional.
You don't?
I
don't think this is a plan of some kind?
I don't think so. I think she'd want to get the ball up there to see if it swings.
Keep her standing up, though. This is driven by Wolfhard to extra cover again. Only the 2 runs off the over, but it didn't feel like a standard Megan Shute over. South Africa 2 without loss after 1. So no slip in place, and Mooney's standing up. So maybe... I mean, could it be a plan? It's an unusual plan to these 2.
I think Megan Shute has actually been really tricky to score off in this tournament because she has had that keeper up pretty much most of the time. So I think people have been getting stuck in their crease, especially early on in the tournament when the wickets were slower. The pitches have actually gotten better and better as we've got into the tournament, which has been really great to see. But I think because the keeper's standing up, it makes batters not feel like they want to go at Megan Schutt, but that's what they need to do. I think when she's put under a bit of pressure by India, is they actually really came at her, because she's so metronomical in her line and length. Actually, you kind of know whereabouts it's going to land, so you can go at her a bit. And I think that South Africa needs to be really clever here. Probably Laura Wolvaardt can sort of play her natural game, bat through, but then they need to make sure they don't let this run rate get sort of up to that 8. They need to keep it at around 6.5, 7, because their batting lineup isn't as strong as Australia's was.
Doesn't have the depth, does it? But Ash Gardner is going to come into the attack. She's bowled a few practice balls. She's faffing around with the field. She's been very precise. Backward point, cover, extra, mid-off. Mid-wicket, square leg, fine leg. 2 fielders out at deep mid-wicket and long on as Brits waits and drives in the air, up over mid-off. It's running off towards the boundary. It won't get there. Round comes Annabelle Sutherland. And they get back, though, for a couple of runs. Tasmin Brits.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly
There's
fluently.
one in the bag.
Not very fluently. She is a leading run scorer in this tournament. And Laura Wolvaardt is not far behind. She has 149 runs now, Wolvaardt. Tasmin 158 as she comes forward and defends a full ball into the covers, goes straight to cover point, and there's no run. They have been the rock at the top of South Africa's order. They're a massively important part of South Africa's game plan, really. As Gardner is in, down the wicket comes Brits, drives without timing off the bottom of the bat to short extra cover. No run, but I like to see this. They're going to come after the Australians. That's what they've got to do.
Yeah, they've got to do that. And Gardner's firing it in at 55 miles an hour. She's trying to bowl really quick, get under the bat of Brits.
Wareham or Brown. As this next ball is full, hoiked away to mid-wicket. There's no run. I have 2 blind spots in this match. I mean, you may argue I've got millions. One of them is, in the field, I find it very difficult to tell Darcy Brown and Georgia Wareham apart. And I can't say Tasmin.
So I got you covered, I reckon, on both.
Good.
I'll try.
Please. Gardner in, swept, but just a short fine leg, no run. She's trying here is Tasmin Brits, but she's not getting hold of anything really at the moment. It's Grace Harris at short fine leg.
Yeah, she's trying to be positive, but just keeps hitting that fielder.
Just 2 off the over so far. As Gardner is in, she drives back to the bowlers in the air briefly, but Gardner fields well off her own bowling. 2 overs are gone in double quick time, just 4 runs on the board. That rate creeping up, but it's early days yet. These two just trying to get the feel of the pitch. Wolvaardt 1, Brits has 3. I don't know how to assess the Australian innings. I mean, it is a different pitch from the West Indies-England pitch, isn't it?
It is. I guess what we saw in that England-West Indies game, it did look like a different pitch in the second innings. I'm sure South Africa will be hoping for that. I think that's probably more so the fact how hard Kiana Joseph came out. But South Africa, they just need to make sure that they don't get stuck here in this power play. They've got to stay up, or if not above that rate.
Shoot continues. This is driven up and over extra cover by Wolvaardt. It's not going to make it to the boundary. Fielders in pursuit. It is Harris, fleet of foot, runs back, collects, picks up a couple of runs. In a foot race there, she beat the other 2 fielders. There were 3 of them going after it, 6 without loss.
Yeah, that's classic. Laura Wolvaardt, just a little bit... Actually, that wasn't even full. That was on the up. She somehow is able to play that lofted cover drive. She's got one of, if not the best cover drive in the women's game. Just scampers back for 2.
Clever shot, up and over the infield. Next one, she hoiks, really pulls out towards deep mid-wicket. Lost her shape a touch, but gets a single. She's gone past 150 runs for the tournament. And she'll have Tasmin Brits in her sight. Only 7 runs behind at the start.
Yeah, they've got sort of a little competition within a competition here. Not that they'll be remotely thinking about that in the middle. They'll be thinking about getting their team off to a really good start, which they have done time and time again in this tournament and last T20 World Cup as well.
Shoot into Brits, who pushes forward, but just guides the ball to short extra cover. No run.
It does sort of amaze me. They have got a long on here now and a cow to Tasmin Brits, because they know how good she is in that sort of leg side and straight region. But I do find it interesting that just because that keeper is up, you'd normally see people sort of charge at Schutt. You know, potentially could they do that here?
In comes Shoot. This is driven in the air, back over the bowler's head, but again, Oh, it's going to be 4. Well, and would you believe it? Is that Annabelle Sutherland who's missed that? She's so far been impeccable at long on throughout this tournament. It was hit firmly and in the air, but it actually bounced quite nicely in a way. And then maybe did it just scuttle below her?
I don't know if she made a meal of that or if that was a really awkward bounce for her. It kind of... She got into a really awkward position. No, it actually was a lovely bounce.
It's a lovely
sort of waist
bounce, yes.
high. She went with one hand, just to her left. Don't normally see that from Australia. They've been brilliant in the field all tournament and for a very long time as well.
First boundary, 11 without loss. Shooting again, driven back up to Sutherland once more, but she will field it. She'll just get a single. If this was a big match and that was being played, you know, in England, if she'd done that, then there would have been...
That is exactly what came into my mind as well. Yeah. Well, they would have had that actually in that Ashes series that they played in England last year.
12 without loss, last ball of the third over. Shoot in. Wolfhard gets a thick edge. It's running away down to the boundary. Fielder in pursuit and will not get there. That's what happens if you don't have a slip. So, 4 more to the total. Darcy Brown, it was, who chased that down, but in vain. 12 off the over. And now suddenly South Africa, not up with the rate, but they'll be comfortable at 16 without loss. Just running her fingers down that ball. Mooney had no chance. It was such a thick edge. It would have been a regulation catch to first slip, but Australia haven't got a slip.
Yeah, opted for the leg cutter there, but just... She kind of went across the left side of the ball, so it just gave sort of too much width for Wolfhard. It was obviously a streaky edge, but actually what Megan Schutt is so good at is actually bowling the width of the stumps. This time gives a bit of width and has to pay the price for it. It streaks down for 4 in that third region. We're going to see Ash Gardner bowl again. She only went for 2 off her first over. We'll see if Tasmin Brits is going to look to go over mid-off here.
Gardner in. Drill. She kind of yorks herself as she comes down a wicket. Tasmin, and drives it back to the bowler. There's no run. I think I'm going to go with Brits.
Just go Brits.
Just Brits.
Yeah, like it.
Much easier. Gardner in again. Brits pushes into the offside tentatively. Can't beat extra cover. No run. Not had a change of bowler yet. These are 2 bowlers that Australia do go to in the power play. Gardner can be very awkward, but she had a tough time against India in the last game. They put her under pressure in that game. As this is driven up in the air, high, it's going to go all the way for 6. Annabelle Sutherland, she was underneath it, she thought she was going to be able to get that, and then it just kept going. The power of Brits taking it sailing over her hands for 6. Brits has decided to take the game to Australia. 22 without loss, the first 6 of the day.
Yeah, brilliant shot from Brits right out the middle of the bat. Annabelle Sutherland, she got a left fingertip on that. It was a brilliant effort, but it sailed over her head. That would have been a ridiculous catch, but what a shot from Brits.
She goes just dinking the ball down the ground this time, full on leg stump, 6 and 1. She'll be happy enough with that. Brits went into double figures with that 6. She's now on 15, 23 without loss.
Yeah, and that was clever from Brits because actually she'd been dancing down the wicket and almost yorking herself. This one, she actually just stayed in the crease and unleashed. She really gives it the long handle. She holds the bat high up on the grip, so she's got such big levers.
Round the wicket comes Gardner to Wolfhard. She drives nicely, but again can't beat extra cover. She's just been picking out those fielders in the infield a touch here, Wolfhard. 23 without loss, but this is now a more than adequate start for South Africa. Win predictor has got them at 61%, but I don't think you should ever do that against Australia. Gardner is in. This is worked away past the left hand of mid-wicket. By getting their hand to it, they might come back for a second. They are coming back for a second. Throw comes in from Southern. Good running from Brits. Gets Wolfhard to double figures, that 2. 9 off the over. 25 without loss after 4. This is a decent start for South Africa as they look to, well, knock out the 6 times champions. The best team in the tournament, for sure, you would say. But on their day, they can be beaten. They've put up what I feel is a subpar total, 134 for 5. We keep talking about the resources they've got in their batting. They didn't bat like they can bat down to number 9. You know, they've batted with a certain timorousness. I don't know how to put it. I mean, I think they're trying, but Talia McGrath got a bit stuck, didn't she? Perry was stuck at the start of her innings. Mooney never really got going.
Yeah, I felt that they were timid, actually, in that power play. And then You know, I think South Africa's spinners bowled really well. Tryon bowled a really good first over. They probably weren't expecting that. They probably were expecting to take her down a bit. But I felt they were timid in that power play. And then, you know, then it was hard to score because South Africa bowled well. And then they only got going when almost Phoebe Litchfield came in.
Annabelle Sutherland, who's been in the action already, replaces Shoot and bowls her.
Oh.
Who's bowled Brits for the beauty. Well, my word. That has just gone straight through Brits. She tried to get a bat down on that. She was surprised by the speed, 73 miles an hour. Megan Shute wasn't bowling at that kind of speed, and that's just scurried on and hit the stumps to the glee of some of the Australian fans here.
Oh.
That's a good ball. That has just gone ping off the pitch and onto the off stump to the delight of Sutherland. She misfielded one. She got a hand to another one that went over the boundary for 6, but this time she's got Brits for 15, South Africa 25 for 1.
Yeah, what a ball from Annabelle Sutherland. We saw her have a misfield earlier, which we don't normally see, but that is an absolute siege. She's held the ball sort of a wobble seam. That's when the bowlers are trying to look for any sort of seam movement off the pitch. She finds that, it just nips back in and it beats Brits for pace. That was at 73 miles an hour. And actually, what was really interesting there is Beth Mooney was standing up to the stumps. And normally, Alyssa Healy probably wouldn't stand up to the stumps to Annabelle Sutherland. Mooney's actually just gone back now.
I think after that ball, I would go back.
Yeah, well, that was
you didn't tell me you were going to bowl like that.
No, but I think that's what actually kind of Brits had to bat within her crease, so that was the perfect length to that. But what a ball.
Now, Annika Bosch has come in at 3. More of that in a moment as Sutherland is in to her. And down the leg side, that'll be a wide. They do bowl wides, Australia, more than you might imagine. I mean, I shouldn't be asking Hypercourse to do this for us, but I have a feeling that they bowl more than most teams, if not all. So just seen that ball again. I mean, that has just beaten Brits. All ends up. She is so late on that shot.
Yeah.
It surprised her. It's gone straight through her back. She's trying to chop it away, but more in panic than anything else, as this is pushed into the offside by Bosch and can't beat the covers. There's no run. Annika Bosch scored 54 runs, an average of 18, but a strike rate of 84.37. She's got a bit stuck at number 3, and I know Firdaus, particularly Firdaus Wunder, who's with us on coverage throughout this World Cup, rather wants to see Marizanne Kapp come in.
Yeah, she's not really living up to the name, is she?
Bosch, no. She comes down the wicket and pulls this, but it's well stopped at mid-wicket. Throw comes in. It's a direct hit, of course. That's a brilliant bit of field, just an absolutely brilliant bit of fielding by Georgia Ware. And firstly, if she hadn't got a hand to it, it would have been at least 2. There is a deep mid-wicket, but it went just slightly to her right. And it was hit really firmly. She got right hand to it, picked up, and from a kneeling position through. And they are going to have to check this, because we need to see if Bosch got her bat down. And she did just.
That is village, though. She
Yes.
hasn't run her bat in there. She just plonked it down. It was actually closer than she would have imagined.
Well, you've got to
She's got
expect.
to slide the bat in.
You've got to expect Australians to hit the stumps from wherever they are. That is what they do.
That's very Charlotte Edwards, that. She would just kind of run and then just plonk the bat in, but no umpires in England would dare give her out.
Crumbs. I don't know what you've just said. It's been punched off the back foot to point. There's no run. As if Charlotte's listening, you're in serious trouble now.
No, it's probably more like, you know, club cricket, where you didn't have, like, DRS
Oh, when you did,
and stuff.
right.
You know,
right.
like, if
so,
it's a 50-50.
So you get away with it,
yeah.
Because Dame Charlotte's
Yeah,
never
Dame
given up.
I don't think she's going to be listening. I'm scared now.
You should be.
Hi, Lottie.
Sutherland in. And this is Hoyt in the air, up and over mid-wicket. It's running away towards the boundary. Fielders after it, won't get there. Wolfart going after that. All she felt she had to do was clear the infield, and she has done that. Brought up the 400th 4 in this tournament. 31 for 1, South Africa. They have just lost Brits, yes, but they've got Wolfart there. And Wolfart, I like this. She's not got into a shell. She's not thought, uh-oh, I've lost my partner. She's gone, no, it's the power play. I've still got gaps. If I can get it up and over the infield, there are boundaries to be had. And we're getting a change in field. Short, fine legs coming in. 5 in the ring on the offside. And mid-wicket's gone straighter here. In comes Sutherland. This is clipped away. Fine. Past the left hand, a fine leg down towards the boundary. Fielder runs round. And we'll get there. Inevitably, it's Perry, but they come back for 2. So Well, it was an over that yielded a wicket, but it's also yielded 8 runs. 5 overs gone, South Africa, chasing 135 to reach their second successive final in the Women's T20 World Cup. They've got off to a decent start. They're 33 for 1. Brits, the woman to go. Bulba, beautiful ball from Sutherland for 15. Wolfhard has 16. Bosch has 1. Your assessment on how South Africa have started, Tash, and then it's going to be Henry Moran.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I think South Africa have started pretty well. I feel like this game has been in the balance since ball 1 of the first innings, but that was a brilliant shot from Wolvaert, the last delivery of Annabelle Sutherland's over, because she actually picked the slower ball of Sutherland. She'd been bowling rapid for her first 5 balls. That first ball hitting nearly 74 miles an hour. So could she potentially just try to beat Wolvaert for pace? But if Wolvaert's there, South Africa will feel pretty confident.
Well, this will be an interesting battle now. We've got Sophie Molyneux, whose stock in trade is economy, a little zippy left arm spin, and she always has a rather serious expression when she's setting that field. Looks around, sees minute changes to a packed offside field inside the circle. Final over of the power play. South Africa need 102 from 90 balls for a place in the World Cup final. Molyneux is in. It's worked into the leg side. It's gone very high in the air. Can a fielder get underneath it? Not quite. It's Bosch who was trying to clear the infield and gets 2 runs to start the over.
Yeah, Perry's need that.
Yeah.
She's need that to deep square leg, but I like that from Bosch. You know, I feel like Molyneux's been brilliant in this tournament. She's taken 7 wickets, and actually she's bowled absolutely rapid. She's been the quickest spinner by far in this tournament. She sometimes actually gets that ball to hoop in as well, holds that ball seam up, but Bosch, she knows that it's going to come into her. It's actually just forced a field change. Short third has come into a short fine because of that sweep from Bosch.
Bish bash on strike. 35 for 1. Here comes Molyneux. And it is angled towards that fielder at short fine leg, perfectly positioned, and there's no run. There'll be no width offered here.
Not at all.
Anything straying outside the off stump, Anneke Bosch is going to give it the full...
You want to say Bosch, don't you?
No. Over. In comes Molyneux. And giving herself a little bit of room, whipping it into the leg side. It's a good-looking shot, and it's going to bring 4. Ash Gardner at deep mid-wicket can't get there. And South Africa move to 39 for 1. They need 96 in 87. We've heard she's been striking it well in the nets. Well, that was a good shot.
Yeah, maybe this is why they've stuck with her. It's really clever batting. She gets it cleanly, but she knows that that ball is always going to be angling into her with a vacant deep square leg region. That's just been plugged. She just steps across to the offside, gets that full-blooded sweep shot out. That's really clever batting. And Sophie Molyneux, she's not been put under much pressure in this tournament, but that was a brilliant shot.
In comes Molyneux again. Bosch this time will go hard down the ground, over the infield and for 4. There's a leap, a desperate leap, but a leap in vain.
You're right for days.
No, she's not. 43 for 1. South Africa need 92 from 86, and Bosch is giving it some here.
Yeah.
Dances down the track.
And that's how she has to go about it. She hasn't done that in this tournament, but we've said sort of in all of our previews that South Africa have to really go hard at Australia and put their bowlers under pressure, because sometimes they can, you know, that can affect them.
Bosch defends this time, a quicker ball from Molyneux. We've seen 10 from the over so far. This is the final delivery of the power play.
I think the Australian bowlers almost don't get put under pressure a lot, so if you do, then you don't exactly know how they're going to cope with that.
In comes Molyneux under the floodlights, and that is defended. That's well bowled. Good recovery at the back end of the over. 6 gone. If you're listening in Australia on ABC and the ABC Listen app, let us know how you're feeling. I know it's the early hours, and anything other than Australia victory, well, people will be waking up tomorrow morning in a state of real shock. 43 for 1, 92 needed from 84 deliveries, with Wolfhard on 16 and Bosch there 11 from 8.
Yeah, and Darcy Brown, she's coming on to bowl now. We saw in that first game she dropped a sitter, and then her first over she kept overstepping the front line and also a few wides. I think it was an 11 ball over, so she hasn't fired in this tournament yet to take a wicket. She normally bowls in the power play, but they've held her back here to try and give her a bit more cover on that boundary. She's got the back four, fine leg, third cover, and a square mid-wicket. So she'll just be wanting to get that foot behind the line this first ball.
Interesting battle, this. Wolfhart waiting, pushing the ball out towards deep cover. She'll get a single, get off strike. And Darcie Brown, very dangerous bowler. If she gets it right, it can be lethal.
Yeah, she's a brilliant bowler. And that first ball, let's see it again, that's 74 miles an hour. She's one of the quickest bowlers on the circuit. Normally bowls in the power play, gets lovely away shape. So she is a brilliant bowler. I'm sure she'll come back from the last couple of games, but she hasn't bowled as well as she would have liked, but she's got a big opportunity here to take a couple of quick wickets.
In comes Darcie Brown. This is flogged away into the leg side, out towards deep mid-wicket. It's a nice-looking shot from Bosch, who gets a single out towards Gardner, and moves that score forward to 45 for 1, chasing 135. That was banged in a little bit short of that from Darcie Brown, who's, you see her in warm-up, she's noticeably quicker than anyone else.
Yeah, she can get it through. She is quick. She's had her injury troubles, but it's nice to see her back firing tonight.
She runs in again very quickly, and Wolfhart will swing across the line, looking for that single, which will beat the dive of Grace Harris, who rather falls in stages at mid-wicket. That was just a little bit of a sort of Jenga tower, wasn't it? 46 for 1.
Yeah, it was. I like the effort though there from Grace Harris. Wouldn't normally find herself at mid-wicket, normally roams on the boundary in the women's big bash, but she finds herself, she's sitting right on the ring there actually to Bosch. She's not trying to stop that one, she's trying to stop that boundary through mid-wicket.
This is driven crisply out towards mid-off. Pick-up, ooh, is a fumble. You don't see that often. Talia McGrath can't collect cleanly. Another run is taken. 4 from the over so far. South Africa require 88 in 80 deliveries.
Yeah, another good quick single. That's what Australia did so well, or they've done so well throughout this tournament. They are absolutely rapid between the wickets. You see Beth Mooney like sprint that first run like it's her life depends on it, and that's what South Africa need to do as well.
In comes Darcie Brown, bowling to Wolfhart, who goes big down the ground. What a shot that is. Majestic, and 6. You'll not see one better. It goes sailing away over long on, and it is absolutely sensational. 50 up for South Africa, 53 for 1.
Yeah, what a shot from Wolfhart. Darcie Brown firing it down at 74 miles an hour, but it is in Laura Wolfhart's slot. Mid-on's up inside the ring, but it doesn't matter because that sails over the boundary rope. She just stays a little bit leg side of it and gets every single piece of that. What a shot from Wolfhart.
Mid-on and mid-off remain up inside the circle. Darcie Brown into Wolfhart, who's beaten by a quick ball.
It's spicy.
It is lively out there, let me tell you. That one whizzing on through at just north of 72 miles an hour. Tash Farrant, thank you for the time being. And, well, I'm going to introduce Firdaus Munda, cricket writer from South Africa, in a moment. I'm not sure how much we're actually going to hear from you over the course of the next few overs, but my hope is we'll hear plenty. How are you doing? 53 for 1.
I'm not sure. I went out into the stands just in the first bit of the reply, and I can tell you this crowd is 80% South African. They are playing some of our best hits from back home, including our second national anthem, Sister Bettina, which became a lockdown hit. I'll tell you when they play it. So we've got some Amapiano, we've got some Afrikaans music out there. I don't know.
Well, it's a good start. 82 needed from 78. Long way to go in this game, make no mistake about that. But that 6 was one of the shots of the tournament, if not the shot of the tournament, actually.
Yeah, that's just Laura Wolfhart for you. She's had this incredible year. She's scored hundreds in every format. She's got a test 100 to her name, and South Africa don't play a lot of test cricket. And she's captaining in this very calm, very controlled, mature way.
Here comes the leg spin of Georgia Wareham, bowling a ball which is clubbed down the ground. Where's that going? It could be 6 more. No, 1 bounce and 4. Annika Bosch now offering the assault to the leg spin of Wareham. They're not holding back here, South Africa. They are trying to do this with authority.
Yeah, I think this is the best we've seen of Annika Bosch, certainly this tournament and for a very long time. They kept saying she hits the ball hard, and I love how she's just taken that on, taken a step down the track. I really didn't think that Annika Bosch should be playing at this stage of the tournament because I wanted Marizanne Kapp in at number 3. I don't mind being wrong on this occasion.
Field changes. Long off goes back to protect the boundary. And in comes Wareham, stepping across the stumps, whipping the ball into the leg side. They'll push for one. There's probably 2 there. They're going to turn for the second. Yes, they are. Bosch's call, and she gets it right. 2 runs taken. 6 from the over already. We've only had the 2 balls. And 59 for 1 is the score. South Africa needs 76 at a run a ball.
Oh, yeah. I heard you saying in the over before that Beth Mooney was running those 2 so hard, and I think we were on air when she was. And South Africa, if there's something I thought they weren't getting quite right, it's the turn and run. They just did that.
Bosch on 19 from 12, waiting, working the ball square again. They can just amble their way through, conserve that energy for that single taken towards Perry, who has been there, done it, and won it all. She's rarely in her Australia career, and it's credit to this Australian side, but rarely seen pressure like this in a knockout game in a World Cup. 60 for 1.
And there's some chewing of nails going on in the South African dugout.
Not just the dugout. Here is the next delivery. Played down the ground, beats the dive of the fielder, or the bowler, I should say. And 61 for 1. I would say possibly to my right as well.
Luckily, I don't really have nails that are worth chewing, so...
That was dealt with in the first innings.
Yeah, they're all gone already. And in June with the men, they didn't grow back.
Well, don't. Here comes Wareham. Deep in the crease, big appeal for LBW, that looks close. No, says umpire Jacqueline Williams, who's got 2 wrong tonight. But will they be tempted to go upstairs? They need something to break this momentum. Phoebe Litchfield seems to be the one that is deepest in conversation, in enthusiastic assertion that this might be out. Her angle wasn't great, and they're going to have a look at it.
It looked all right to me. On the first shout, I thought, ooh, I think that could be gone. And as you say, we've had a couple of decisions not go Jackie Williams' way.
I wouldn't say necessarily from the reaction from Australia that they're certain about this. This is outside the line impact, isn't it?
I think so, now that I'm looking at it.
Or umpire's call at best, I would feel.
Yeah, you're probably right on that.
TV umpire Anna Harris has been called into rare action tonight, and it's nice to see an England representative for the semi-finals.
Can I ask you how you feel about that in a moment?
Well, let's get through this decision. First of all, here, Australia are beginning to spread out. I don't think they think this is out. No, well
no, way
outside.
outside.
They've lost the review, so it's not even umpire's call. How do I feel about England's elimination? Well, look, there's a lot of listeners back home that were really disappointed. From our perspective, yeah, it's great when England make it through. It's a brilliant story. I think it's a wake-up call. I think that
interesting words, yeah.
I think that perhaps from certainly the comments from Alex Hartley last night were pretty strong on Test Match Special. Here comes Georgia Wareham. This has been swung out towards deep mid-wicket. There's a chase on for Gardner, who's going to have to do well to stop it. Brilliant fielding, it really is. A tumbling save, but there are 2 runs taken, 10 taken in the over. And so the equation, 63 for 1 after 8, is 72 in 72. If you want to see in-play highlights of this game, BBC Sport website and app, and there you'll find the match report from the latest from Multan, where tomorrow morning England's men back underway in that Test series against Pakistan. England at stumps on day 3, 36 for 2, need 261 runs to win, which would be possibly the most remarkable win on that surface in the Bazball era.
That Test has moved quickly, hasn't it? I didn't realise it was day 3.
I'm not going to tell you the win probability at the moment, because that's going to stress you out more.
Don't tell me any of those things.
Do you want to close your ears and I'll tell the audience?
Sure.
The win, so you're not listening, okay? 92% South Africa at the moment.
I've cheated and I heard.
Okay, right. 63 for 1 is the score. And so I think for England, Alex was speaking about fitness and the fact that 80% of the side are fit enough, and perhaps there are some that aren't necessarily doing their bit. And it'll be very interesting to see how England respond. And, you know, this will be a real shock to the system, certainly. Here comes Annabelle Sutherland, who's taken the only wicket to fall thus far, and she bowls a ball which Wolfart nicely tucks around the corner towards Perry at fine leg. 64 for 1. I think the fact that a number of senior ECB officials are in town because of meetings ahead of planning for next World Cups,
Very
T20
exciting,
wise,
yes.
you know,
FTPs,
all that sort of thing. And I think the fact that when Tash bumped into Claire Connor.
Oh, yes.
In the lift last night rather. In comes Sutherland, played up on her toes by Bosch, but will be stopped by a sliding Litchfield, no run. And Tash asked Claire, when did you get here? And Claire's response was, well, too late. So I think there's a little bit of a sense of, well, we thought we'd be seeing not just these meetings, but we'd also be seeing...
We all thought we'd see England, right?
Absolutely. It's, you know, they lost one game, and you can do that, but I think it's a big disappointment. Here comes Sutherland, and whipping across the line is Bosch, showing some ambition as she comes galloping forward, and she'll get a second run there as well, because it goes into an unusual space to the right of Ash Gardner. I'll tell you what, this is some performance from Tash.
I'm very impressed.
She's got a tray with 4 cups of tea. How about that? That is very kind of you, Tash.
Thanks, Tash.
There we go. 66 for 1. South Africa almost halfway there. 69 needed from 69 balls. In comes Sutherland. This is driven down the ground. Oh, could be a bit tight. This is a throw hits, but unusually those bails don't light up. It's Grace Harris who turns and chastises herself, shouts at the ground, looks up at the sky, and sees staring down sternly the captains of every side that has fought in this competition. We assumed there'd only be perhaps the option of 1 or 2 that would be lifting the trophy. But South Africa have a chance of knocking out the red-hot favourites here. 68 needed at a runner ball. Nicely angled into the offside by Wolfhard, who moves on to 27. 1 ball left of the 9th over.
I had another idea for what they should do with those banners with the captain's faces once a team gets knocked out.
Yes.
My initial idea was to take them down. My new idea is to get them to be black and white instead of in colour.
Why?
So then you know who's knocked out, all the black and white.
Oh, I see what you mean when the teams are eliminated at the end of the tournament. I see. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd work, wouldn't it?
I'll mention it to someone.
You could do. It feels quite a lot of effort at this point. We've got quite far. In comes Sutherland, bowling to Bosch, who smacks it down the ground and will get a single up towards long on. Another over ticks by with 6 from it. 66 needed in as many balls. 69 for 1, the South Africa score. This partnership's worth 44 off 30. It followed a 25-run stand between Tasmin Brits, who was bowled by beauty.
She was.
By Annabelle Sutherland. And a very, very young Australian fan in the crowd with their dad wearing the big ear protectors. Can't be more than a couple of months old.
Very sweet.
Well, there we go. And there's a fair few that have come in tonight, actually. Post-work, the stands are by no means full, but there is a good noise out there, and I can see plenty of South African flags that are flying, and they'll be flying ever more vigorously if this continues.
It's actually really pleasant out there. It's not at all kind of that suffocating heat that we've had. It's really nice to sit outside at the moment. There's a good breeze. I enjoyed my time. It also meant that I didn't have to panic because I could just chat to other people.
Sophie Molyneux to bowl a second over. Left arm spin round the wicket. Pace taken off it. She has to wait a little while, does Bosch, but eventually swings for the hills and gets a single out towards Gardner at mid-wicket.
It's a very important innings, this, for Annika Bosch, because I think the chorus, and I'm not just talking about myself, of voices wondering why South Africa were persisting with this 8-batter lineup may have reason to be quiet now.
Here comes Molyneux into bowl the ball, which is played with such elegance, quite a lot of bottom hand, but down the ground towards Sutherland. And there's a little bit of a problem building for Australia in the sense that singles seem to be very easy at the moment. They're struggling to build the dots, struggling to build the pressure. It's been 13 balls since a boundary, but actually they're right up with it. 64 needed at a runner ball. Hit hard into the leg side. That'll be 1 more again on the bounce out towards the tireless Perry, who picks up and throws in one fluid motion. 72 for 1.
Well, this is the thing. There are just a few too many gaps in the field, especially I'm looking on the leg side. You know, there's a lot of space out there. It's a big outfield.
In comes Molyneux. Bowls a ball which is dug out. It will be skewed towards backward point, and there is a dot towards Darcy Brown. 72 for 1. Wolfhard waits with bat resting on shoulder. Look overly perturbed at the moment. They're past the halfway stage in this run chase, though. They've yet to reach the halfway point in terms of overs bowled. In comes Molyneux. Swinging at that is Annika Bosch, or forgive me, Laura Wolfhard, to get a single down the ground to move to 29. 62 needed from 61. We'll have a chance to take stock and grab a little breath in a moment at the halfway stage of the innings. That is coming up after this delivery. In comes Molyneux. And there's a swinging round the corner. And Dewar, well parried. That's a very good stop from a diving Phoebe Litchfield. She's prevented the boundary. It is a single. Halfway through the run chase, the stumps are thrown down, perhaps with a degree of frustration from Litchfield. 74 for 1. South Africa needs 61 in 60 balls to knock out Australia. We did not think we'd be saying that, but this is the match situation. Australia's drinks-carrying contingent, including Alana King, with what appears to be... Is that a blender she's got with her? Is that a
it could be a quick smoothie that they're going to be making.
She brought on an electric appliance. What is this, the generation game? 74 for 1. Laura Wolfhart, meanwhile, is 173, top scorer in the tournament. Good game, good game. So, 74 for 1. Before I go full Bruce Forsyth for Desmond, I'm going to get out of the way because Daniel Norcross is standing by and being very childish behind me. Right then, for Desmond, more from you and then Daniel.
Yeah, I didn't expect anything less from Daniel, but I'm feeling quite good at the halfway stage in terms of just seeing a situation where we could potentially have a different winner for the tournament. And I say this without a nationalistic hat on. I think we've all wanted to see whether the gap in women's cricket is closing, whether there are other contenders. I was particularly optimistic about Sri Lanka, and we all know how that turned out, so I try not to be too optimistic anymore. But I think, honestly, if you told South Africa that 3/4 of the way into the game you'll need 61 runs of 60 balls to get to the final, they would have taken it. Now Tasha's brought some cake.
Well, and with 9 wickets in hand, and an established Wolfhard and Bosch both there, both seen plenty of balls, 29 apiece, one off 23, one off 22. And indeed, Tash is so nervous alongside me that the only solution is to bring in 5 small cakes. I understand that. I entirely understand that.
I understand that completely. I note that she'd only brought in 1 chocolate cake. She brought in 4, because she doesn't like chocolate, she says, which is unusual.
It's actually quite a nice one. It's a chocolate mousse cake.
I've had it and I thought it was great.
Yeah, so you've got delicate ganache.
Yes,
slightly
indeed.
bitter as well, like it's not too sweet.
Did you have the one with the blue chocolate bit on it the other day?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, you missed out on blue
chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
No. Well, evidently I have missed out. But I tell you here, if South Africa miss out, then...
Oh, no, don't say it. Don't say it.
The word. I mean, it was not that long ago that South Africa's men needed a runner ball.
Oh, do you have to go there?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I'm contractually obliged.
Oh, okay. In that case, I fully understand. Keep going.
I mean, it's just one of those things, I'm afraid. And South Africa now find themselves, the women's team, find themselves in a position not dissimilar. Yeah, there are 10 overs to go, not 5. And they've got 9 wickets in hand. And they are playing against the best side in the world, which I suppose South Africa were as well in that men's final, playing against India. It was a high-quality final, that, and a very thrilling one. Are we going to get a high-quality thriller? We haven't got anywhere near a super over, you know, in this tournament.
You are just desperate to see a super over. You've been saying so since day one.
I think it would be a novelty. I can't remember. Did we get a super over in South Africa?
No, I don't remember any super overs in South Africa.
I'm trying to remember a woman's super over. I'm sure there would have
I will tell you about one.
Right. Start of a new over. We're finished after Drake's first balls, just bunted into the onside by Bosch. She moves to 30. Megan Schutt's been brought back, I would say, a trifle earlier than Australia would have liked. She's bowling her 3rd over here, and Marizanne Kapp has yet to bat. And in a way, yeah, this feels like they've got to bring someone on to break the partnership. That's what they're after here. 50 partnership has come up between Wolfhard and Bosch, and I've got a slew of stats to give you if a wicket doesn't fall off this ball.
Oh, I'm excited.
Wolfhard faces, and this is chipped in the air. It's going to land safely out towards deep mid-wicket. It was pulled away off a thick top edge. It's just gone over the infield out towards deep mid-wicket, and they get a single. I say all these things for you. So I quote the marvellous Hypercourse so that you can put it into your
thank you,
into your pieces. So before this match, I asked about wides. I'm going to come on to those in a minute, because that has been a feature of Australia's cricket. We have had a few wides, as Bosch is back on strike to shoot, and she pulls into the onside. She's going to get another single as it goes to the right of mid-wicket. 3 singles for the first 3 balls of the over. Before this match, Australia were averaging 29.7 legitimate deliveries per wide or no ball. That's basically every 5 overs.
Yeah.
So that's 4 per match, which is quite a lot, really.
Exactly.
It's the 3rd worst at this tournament behind New Zealand and South Africa. 2 other semi-finalists. Turns out it's not important. Shoot in, clipped away, out towards deep backward square leg by Wolfart. She gets another single. I think South Africa will be happy if they can take Megan's shoot for singles at this stage. They'll be happy. The 6, I think the first 6 that was hit was just the second 6 hit against Australia at this World Cup.
Yes, I can believe that.
So now 3 have been hit, 2 by South Africa in this match. So there's a fair few here. As shoot is in, and this has been all flipped up and over. Brilliant shot. Is it going to skip on? Not quite. It's going to run down to the boundary. Fielder in pursuit. Gets there, flips it back. Oh, they haven't quite run as quickly as they might, as Molyneux tidies up. They might have got 3 there. They'll have to settle for 2. But it was a very lovely reverse. What are we going to call that?
I don't like that shot at all. I think it's so risky, and I hate it whenever it gets pulled out.
Fielder's
it's a
up
switch
inside.
hit reverse, right?
It's a switch hit reverse over short third, which then suddenly becomes short fine.
Yeah.
And it goes down towards the boundary. She was unlucky not to get 4 for it, actually. They might have run better, but they've got 2. 6 have come from the first 5 balls of the over. Shoot completes with a full toss, which is just worked into the onside. Acres of space out there. 7 off the over. 54 needed from 54 balls. South Africa, at the moment, are bossing this. They're 81 for 1, and if you hear any glee in my voice, it's simply that every time I go to the gym to try, because, you know, I'm a bit of a gym bunny, every time I go down to the gym, it's just full of Australian cricketers.
And you need them to move away so that you can have access to some of the equipment.
If they got knocked out, then I can get hold of my 50-kilogram weights and I can get onto the treadmill and, you know, all the things that I'm used to doing.
Very inconsiderate of them, hogging that space.
Very inconsiderate.
It's not, I mean, they have gyms at home. Why do they need to use other gyms?
I'm not really a road runner, you know what I mean?
Especially not in this climate.
I do like to have the telly on.
Tash said she ran 6 kilometers the other day down to the beachfront, and I mean, she is an actual professional sports person, right?
Yeah, so they will do that.
They should do that.
Well, they should do that, yes, more of them should do that. Wareham is coming into the attack, and she's going to bowl her leg spin. She replaces Molyneux. Her first over went for 10, with South Africa now needing a runner ball from the last 9 overs. Bosch on strike on 34. In comes Wareham. Bosch whacks this out towards wide long on. It'll just be the single as Sutherland moves to her right to field. Haven't had a boundary for a little while. 24 balls since the last boundary, but in that time, South Africa have been ticking it over. They've been getting singles, a very occasional 2.
And really, that's all they need to do without being too optimistic about anything.
Well, it is, and I can see you don't want to be optimistic, because this next ball's a dot, has pushed back to the bowler by Wolfart. Wareham did well following Wolfart, gave herself some room outside the leg stump, and she just fired it in, as we see a very pensive Alyssa Healy. Her lips clamped shut. As down the wicket comes... Oh, Wolfart gets a leading edge. It squirts into a packed offside field, a second dot ball, and this is the danger. If you don't get the boundaries, and suddenly a tight over, and the pressure will build. 53 needed off 51. Wareham's bowled a good over here so far. 1 dot dot. She's in to Wolfart, who comes down the wicket and rather heaves the ball to mid-wicket, but a rare misfield from the usually impeccable Harris allows a single. 83 for 1. 52 needed from 50. That target 135, if you like to know targets. 135 is the target. Keep your ears out for that. Thriller is bubbling up here. Wareham into Bosch. She swings this away. Between mid-wicket and square leg, it's going to be 4. Well, that has done. The 2 dots are a distant memory now. That is a first boundary in 26 balls, and South Africa 87 for 1, and 6 have come from the over from the first 5 balls. She did really well, moved across her crease and sort of slog swept it between deep square leg and deep mid-wicket, got plenty of it. And she moves with that to 39 from 28. Bosch, the much maligned Bosch.
Definitely. I mean, she hadn't scored anything higher than 25 in the tournament thus far, and she didn't really look the part, if we're being honest.
Wareham in. She's whacked this high in the air. How far's that gone? It's gone all the way, I think. That might have gone all the way over mid-wicket. Has that gone for 6? We wait to see the umpire signal. It feels like 6. It looked like 6. But it's quite a long way away and it is quite dark. So bear with me. We still haven't had... Well, it's
just been given as 6.
It's come up as 6. Umpire confirms. Well, that has changed the whole complexion of that over. 2 from the first 4 balls. And then Bosch goes. Bosch 4, Bosch 6. Other electrical appliances are available. And South Africa are 93 for 1, needing 42 from 48. The required rate is down to 5 1/4 with 9 wickets in hand. They will never get a better chance than this for Oostmunda to knock Australia out of a World Cup.
No, and I mean, this is a situation where if we were just reading the scores, take the teams out of it, take the situation out of it, we would say the team chasing should win this game. But this is South Africa. We have seen time and time again what can happen. I'm almost too scared to say any more words.
South Africa's women don't suffer the same affliction, do they?
I mean, I was there at the 2017 50 over World Cup semi-final, which they lost to England in, was it Bristol or Brighton?
That was one of the most exhaustingly terrifying most exhaustingly terrifying games of my life. And Anya Shrubsole finished it off.
Oh, that's it, that's it.
I'm sorry to bring it back to you.
No
Ash
problem.
Gardner comes in, right arm over the wicket with the off spin. That's heaved away, out to the boundary, is it? Fielder comes round, can't get there. Woolfard strikes the boundary. We've had 14 runs in the last 3 balls. And, well, South Africa were on top before that, but they're now massively on top. 38 needed from 47. It was a heave, really. It wasn't a great shot. Well, I mean, am I being unfair?
No, not at all. I mean, this is not pretty. There's some hacking going on out there, but I don't think they care about that. And Laura Woolfard is one of the most technically beautiful players that you'll see, but she can hack that ball all she wants.
And this is off Ash Gardner, who opened the bowling, don't forget. They're desperate for a wicket, Australia. This is worked into the onside. Playing across the front pad, can't beat mid-wicket. Runs up to the fielder. Dot ball. They needed that. But they need more than that. They need a wicket. They've got to get into South Africa's middle order and put some pressure. As Gardner is in, down the wicket comes Woolfard. She's in the air. And it's going to land safely just in front of Georgia Wareham at long off, heart in mouth time.
I don't actually think South Africa need to play shots like that now. As you say, the run rate that they require is less than 5 and over. They can just knock it around. But I sense there's a little bit of, we're never going to get this chance again.
Bosch, I think she's going to keep playing the way she knows as she swings this away to the left of fine leg, down to the boundary. It's 4 more. Bosch is on fire here. That's a great shot. It's 4 more. She moves with that to 49 from 30. She's playing the innings of her life here. 5 4s and a 6. The 100 is up for South Africa. And, well, Australia, they're being given the same treatment that England had the other day, 2 days ago. 2 batters have come after them. And at the moment, they look shell-shocked. They need to try to regroup. They've got to find a way. They know they're a champion team.
Yeah, it's these last 2 overs, right? In fact, just the last 6 balls.
6 balls. In the last 6 balls, we've had 23 runs. Gardner fires it outside the off-stump. It's driven through extra cover. Gets a hand on it, does extra cover. Takes the pace off, but they will come back for 2 more. 11 have come from the first 5 balls, and Bosch has moved to 50. 51 from 31 balls. Who would have thought this? She came into this match with 54 runs in 3 innings with a strike rate of 84. People were questioning what on earth she was doing batting at 3 when Marizanne Cup is waiting in the wings. She's come out against the best side in the world and she's hit a 31-ball 50. 5 4s and a 6 in that. And were it not for a really good bit of fielding, that would have gone for 4 as well. 104 for 1. 31 needed from 43 balls. Job not done. That's what Woolfart's saying to her. As Gardner comes in, and this has been swung away, reversed, out over deep backward point. It's going to run away for 4 more. This is astounding batting from South Africa. They have hit 29 runs in the last 9 balls. And, well, it's going to take something remarkable now for them not to make it to the final. They need 27 from 42. 7 overs remain, under 4 and over. Bosch 55, Woolfart 37. This is brilliant, dynamic batting.
Yeah, wow. I told you I really don't like that shot earlier, but I don't mind it so much anymore. Annika Bosch is playing an innings that I have never seen her play before. She got 50 against Sri Lanka in March in Potchefstroom, and she's got a 67 last year. But really, a lot of people wondering what she was doing in the side. clearly the batting group knew something, the coach knew something, Paul Adams knew something. I don't actually think I can quite believe this.
Well, Australian skipper is bringing herself onto bowl. Talia McGrath. She's not bowled so far in this innings. It'll be the 7th bowler used. Keeper up to the stumps. 4 in the ring on the offside. Wolfhard on strike on 37. She's in. And this is swung away down to deep backward square leg for a single. And now really, after what has happened in the last, well, now 10 balls, South Africa genuinely do not have to look for boundaries. 26 needed off 41. There are gaps everywhere. There are 4 in the ring on the offside, just 1 on the leg side. Australia have got to get wickets, and they've got to keep the runs down. And there are gaps for singles. They can just be pushed around, but Bosch is not in that mood. She goes swinging again. She's going to get a single out towards deep mid-wicket. Again, that is all they need. 25 needed from 40. Bosch to 56.
And I think, Dan, you're absolutely right in that no risks need to be taken. I understand that the nerves and the pressure and the things that they know are probably being said outside of this space will be there. Just knock it around.
Adrenaline, though. Adrenaline for those. Wolfhard on strike. Whacks this to short mid-wicket. Just gets it past the left hand. The diving fielder, they'll get one more. And ordinarily, I would caution against the tapping it around, but when you've got a 15-ball gap between the runs you need and the balls that are left, you know. Oh, Tash is saying, no, keep swinging for the hills. You're in now. You're seeing it like a football. There's probably some sense in that as well. Bosch on strike, faces McGrath. Way down the leg side. Wide signalled. Well taken by Mooney. Haven't had a wide for a while. 112 for 1. They're off the dreaded Nelson.
Oh, yes, I hadn't even realised that.
Not? I didn't like to say, because you're moving around your chair like nobody's business.
No, I'm very calm.
No, you're not.
I'm extremely calm. Everything's great.
McGrath in again. This pulled away out towards deep backward square leg very firmly. It'll just beat the single as Wareham runs round. 5 have come from the first 4 balls. 22 needed from 38 balls. 9 wickets in hand.
I want to say something about the significance of this, because soon I think Tash will have to replace me here, but I'm almost too scared to, in case...
You can't jinx it. It is not possible.
I don't know.
No,
I mean, I've done
possible.
other things. I mean, the Men's World Cup.
You don't have that power for those, I promise you. McGrath in down the leg side. That's surely another wide. Well, Jackie's turning towards us.
Just having a look to see what we're up to.
Was there a little bit of... Oh, now she signals wide. She's toying with us. Well, I never. I mean, it was so wide down the leg side, you wondered what was going on there. McGrath in once more. Short, pulled out towards deep mid-wicket on the 2nd, 3rd bounce. 1 more to the total. Wolfhard to 40. 115 for 1. 20 needed from 37. Say what you would like to say for those, because you're coming off in a moment.
I don't know, because I'm just getting lots of messages about how people are feeling. But what I will say is that I said it at the start. I said it last year. South Africa is a country that really needs this. And, you know, the dramas and the emotions aside, like, this is an incredible achievement, or would be achievement for this amazing group of diverse women.
Last ball of the over from McGrath. Tapped into the onside. They go through for a single. This could be really tight. Oh, it's a miss at the stumps. Well, if she'd hit the stumps there, she would have been a goner. It's Darcy Brown. She's not having the best World Cup. She only had 1 stump to aim at. It was a very risky run to take, but Wolfhard...
See you on Sunday.
Right. See you on Sunday for those. 19 needed, 36 balls to go. 6 overs in old money, if you like. Just 3 and over. With 9 wickets in hand. Sense tells you that South Africa are going to win this game. But watching Australian women play cricket for as long as we all have in this box combined tells us that you don't count... Nobody counts their chickens until they're hatched. It's not because we want Australia to lose, of course not. It's about the theatre, the drama of what's happening here. Australia were a bit timorous with the bat. South Africa bowled really well. They didn't, as we suggested at the very beginning, Tash, that if Australia bat first, that's South Africa's best chance, because sometimes Australia leave something in the tank. They think that, you know, they target at something like 140, 145. If they don't get there, or they get close to it, then a side with a couple of inspired batters, and South Africa have had a couple of inspired batters today, they can make a mockery of that score. Right, start of a new over. First ball is short, cut away into the offside. They're going to go through for a quick single. If that had hit, it would have been out.
Oh, Phoebe Litchfield, she is an unbelievable fielder. She's actually a keeper. We saw her do a brilliant run out against India. This time, she picks it up with her left hand, and then she quickly swivels, turns round, throws it with her right hand, and if that had hit Bosch, she'd given up. She was well out.
She wasn't far away, but she had one stump to aim at. They get the single, short ball, pulled into the onside, out to deep mid-wicket by Bosch. Takes, by Wolfhard, I beg your pardon, takes Wolfhard to 41. 118 for 1, 17 needed of 34 balls, a run every other ball with 9 wickets in hand.
Yeah, it's really interesting here. Australia are obviously rattled that all of their fielders on inside the ring. They're right on the ring. They need to come off that ring to stop any easy single.
Sutherland in again. Down the leg side, just clipped away, fine. There is no short, fine leg. Mooney's in pursuit, but they've only run one. They ran that first one very slowly.
I think they're catching their breath.
Well, you can understand why. 16 needed from 33. 119 for 1. This partnership is 94 from 65 balls. One of the great partnerships in T20 Women's World Cup history. Quite an extraordinary effort from Wolfhard and Bosch, especially Bosch. 60 from 37, but it's Wolfhard on strike on 41. She faces up now, and she hammers this back past the bowler. It's running up towards the boundary, but long on will come round to field. One more, but one is fine for South Africa. 15 needed off 32.
Slur ball there from Annabelle Sutherland. It actually did Wolfhard completely, but she almost sort of tennis forehand it, got a bit of topspin on it. Annabelle Sutherland actually had to evade that from hitting her in the shins. But well watched from Wolfhard. This is just so good to watch for the South African batters.
Bosch on strike. Carves this away into the offside. It's going to get to the sweeper, but it's one more. It's another easy run. They're finding these singles so easy to come by. Tash has just made the sign, squeeze, squeeze. They've got to do something. They're just, at the moment, they're watching their title slip away. There's nobody in tight saving one.
Yeah. And, you know, this is maybe where they're missing Alyssa Healy. She's normally behind the stumps. But Mooney, she's so experienced. She needs to get those fielders tighter.
Sutherland. Driven in the air, will be caught. There's the wicket. It's Laura Wolfhard. She's just chipped it into the hands of Talia McGrath mid-off, and that is the second wicket. It ends the partnership of 96, but surely that partnership has done enough to get South Africa over the line. They need another 14 from 30 balls. South Africa's captain departs, but she must have done her job here. 42 from 37. She went for perhaps an unnecessary heave of the last ball there of Sutherland's over. Sutherland is the only bowler to have taken wickets, taken the 2 wickets to fall. But surely South Africa have got enough. And it looks to me that they're sending in Chloe Tryon here, not Marizanne Cup.
They want to get this over and done with.
Well, I mean,
an interesting call.
It
Not
is.
that I expected that.
I would have thought that you would send in your most experienced player, but look, come what may, this game's going to be over, you would imagine, in not too long. Henry Moran is going to take you through to the end, and it's looking very much like the 6 times champion, defending champions, are going out at the semi-final stage, Tash.
Yeah, absolutely no celebration from the Aussies there. They know that they are so far behind the game, and they would need a miracle to sort of bring this one back. It's an interesting move from South Africa to send out Chloe Tryon. I can only imagine that they want to take any nerves out of this game. If she's able to hit 2 boundaries, and this game is completely over, and it's completely over quickly. So another positive move by the South African coaching staff as well.
Indeed, and it is only right at this point that we get Firdous on the microphone as well. Right, here comes, I think it's going to be Sophie Molyneux. It is, with Bosch on strike. That partnership, a remarkable one, worth 96. In comes Molyneux to bowl a ball which is on the full, whipped towards mid-wicket. No run. 14 needed, 29 balls left to do it. It is not quite as... the situation for South Africa's men in the T20 World Cup final was not quite as advantageous as this, and they did lose it. As this is worked into the leg side, down towards fine leg. They'll push hard for the first. They're going to have to turn for the second. Surely no. Oh, yes. Throw comes in. Bosch is to the danger end and gets there. Tryon was not having a piece of it, but they do get back for 2. Bosch to 63, 12 needed in 28.
I will say that situation with South Africa's men was the final, and it's probably worth remembering now that there will still be a final to play, although this really does feel like a match that has the status of a final given who South Africa are playing. So the next challenge will be, I guess, getting up for Sunday should they get there.
Indeed. Little step away to the leg side. 12 needed from 28 balls. Molyneux to the outstanding Bosch. Round the wicket. And Bosch goes hard at that. Into the leg side. Cries of catch. It'll drop short of mid-wicket. 1 run taken. Gardner runs in. Throws in with a degree of fury. 11 needed from 27, Tash.
Yeah, she's been so good on the sweep today. I think she played that sweep, the second ball of her innings. She didn't quite sort of get it out of the middle, but it was more so just the intent that she had to play that shot. And she's played it all the way through her innings. She's been seeing it so well. She's just taking a moment. She's just kneeling down, probably taking it all in. She's probably absolutely knackered as well. We've seen her run a couple of really quick twos, so she's just making sure that she's staying nice and calm, getting the oxygen in the lungs.
It's Tryon on strike, and she's playing with a straight bat towards Perry at mid-off, and there's no run.
It is an interesting decision for South Africa to send Chloe Tryon in. I actually chatted to her a couple of days ago, and she said that the finishing has been really difficult, but she wants to be the finisher. So maybe this is why.
Molyneux bowling a ball which is appeal for LBW. There's a big appeal, but nothing doing. And I'm not sure they'll go for it. Indeed, just the one review remaining. A rather stony-faced Talia McGrath is not for turning. 124 for 2. The equation for South Africa to knock out Australia, is 11 from 25.
Some interesting and nice sounding words.
They'll be even nicer for you for those if we say those words in the past tense.
I still can't quite believe it.
Tryon on strike and swinging at a ball which is dropped into the onside. No run there, and the over goes by with 3 from it. 11 needed from 24. So it'll be Bosch on strike. Who's got overs left for Australia? Well, they've got so many options. They all have overs left. I'd be tempted here if I was Australia to bowl Megan Schutt.
Yeah, she's been their best bowler throughout this tournament. She bowls at that slightly slower pace. I think they're actually going to go for Annabelle Sutherland. Probably would have been my second choice, actually. She got a wicket with her first ball this evening. A quick ball to pick up that wicket, took out the off stunt. The bails went flying, so they've opted to go for the quicker Annabelle Sutherland. I'm sure she's just going to try and target the pads here, or is she just going to try and get Chloe Tryon on strike, bowl at that new batter? She hasn't looked comfortable yet. She's 0 from 3, but it's Bosch on strike.
11 needed from 24, and Bosch gets a Yorker, which is brilliantly bowled. Dug out, no run. It's 11 from 23.
What a ball.
Good luck.
That is right in the block hole. That is fast, furious, right at the toes. There's nothing you can do with that. That was actually really well dug out from Bosch. Anyone else, I think, probably seeing it not as well as Bosch tonight, probably would have been cleaned up by that one. She's just managed to dig that one out at the last second.
In comes Sutherland again. Bosch is waiting. A slower ball, which is crisply driven away through the offside. That could be 4, you know. It's racing across the outfield, and it will not be stopped. It's single figures. 7 needed from 22. It's a remarkable shot and a remarkable piece of timing from a player that has not had the credit that this innings necessarily should. Well, we didn't know she had it in her, did we? I think that's fair to say.
No, not at all. And this is her highest T20 score, Annika Bosch. She's got 2 50s to her name before this. She's timing the ball so well. She's seeing it so well. I've never seen her hit a ball like this. This is incredible.
7 needed, 22 balls. Bosch is on 68. Here comes Sutherland. She goes hard into the leg side. There'll be 1 run there out to deep mid-wicket. It's in theory 1 hit away. South Africa's women's highest partnership for any wicket in T20 nationals against Australia. The highest partnership any team has made against Australia at a women's T20 World Cup since that amazing 120-run stand in that final of 2016. It's the highest score in the tournament as well for Annika Bosch today. 69 from 44. I've got one other stat for you in a moment. 6 needed to win. Tryon goes hard into the leg side. She won't get the boundary, but she will get 1. 5 needed from 20 balls. And that stat is... stand by for this, because it is a good one.
We're building the suspense.
I am building up.
I like it.
It's worth emphasising getting the wording right. If South Africa get through, it is the first World Cup final in either format not to feature one of England and Australia.
There you go.
Wow.
Driven back towards the bowler and stopped well by Sutherland in her follow-through. 5 needed from 19.
That is an incredible stat, and I think it just tells you how much progress is being made in closing that gap that we keep talking about. And South Africa are a country with not nearly as many resources as some of the others.
No.
But they've done an incredible job of closing the gap, and that's after failing to win 6 series post reaching last year's final.
5 needed from 19 balls. This is dug out into the offside. They'll push hard for the run. The throw comes in from Litchfield and misses.
This is
4 needed.
This is so interesting from Australia. Phoebe Litchfield is a gun fielder, right? She picks up that clean, but it was always one because she's hugging the inner ring. And that's where you feel, but maybe they are missing, you know, their skipper, Alyssa Healy, because, you know, South Africa only need 4 to win. You can't be giving them easy singles. They should, you know, that they are out of this game, but they should be sort of hunting those singles down. They shouldn't let them get any easy singles. We've seen Annika Bosch run really well tonight, so it just doesn't seem to be much communication out there between senior players, because, you know, it's not all down to Talia McGrath, the stand-in captain. They've got the likes of Beth Mooney, Elise Perry. They've got so many experienced cricketers. They're having a chat now with Megan Schutt, Talia McGrath and Elise Perry, but you just feel like, well, it's too late.
For those who are standing next to her, she's shaking her head.
I don't know. I'm not actually sure what is the correct gesture actually at this point in time. I just feel like I don't actually think we can believe what's going on, because Australia are such an amazing team.
They are, and they're a privilege to watch. They, in everything they do, they are the absolute essence of professionalism, of excellence. 4 needed from 18 balls. Bosch on strikers, Megan Schutt bowls. It's chopped into the ground, stopped at cover. And there's no run. Molyneux it is who picks up. She's had a brilliant tournament, Megan Schutt, but it may be one that doesn't see silverware at the end of it.
Yeah, she has, but I think it was that first innings with the bat. They were timid in the power play. They got a score that was under par. We thought that they were going to try and get that 160. They were way off that.
In comes Schutt again, still 4 needed. It's whipped away into the leg side. Is this the moment? The ball races to the boundary. The ball reaches the boundary. Australia are beaten. South Africa are World Cup finalists. How fitting that Annika Bosch should hit the winning runs. Australia stand uncertain what to do. This does not happen to this side. They don't get beaten. They certainly don't make finals. And South Africa have won. Alyssa Healy shown on the big screen, and she's got her head resting on her hands, a little wry smile on her face. She will know something extraordinary has happened out there, and though Australia come together to congratulate each other on a campaign well fought, it is one that concludes in a shocking failure in the semi-finals. But that is to underplay South Africa, who have been brilliant. They have been absolutely brilliant, bold in ways Australia weren't, brave in ways Australia weren't, and it is that bravery, that boldness, and that brilliance from Annika Bosch that sees them through to a World Cup final, and Australia will be checking out tomorrow morning.
Wow, I don't know what to say. A second T20 World Cup final in a row for the South African women. A third T20 World Cup final in a row for South Africa as a country. I mean, let me tell you about this team. These are girls, some of whom grew up with no access to facilities at all, some of whom had no idea when or how they would ever play cricket, who got introduced to the game. I'm thinking of Nonkululeko Mlaba, Ayabonga Kaka, girls who've come through development programs, Tasman Brits who survived a life-threatening car accident, who worked in a grocery store until Cricket South Africa stepped in to help fund her journey to cricket. This is the team we're talking about. They are so representative of a country with so many problems who's found a way to come together. And I know they haven't won the World Cup yet, and I know they might not, but to reach the final is an unbelievably incredible achievement, considering they've knocked Australia out.
I can see how emotional you are.
I'm a very emotional person generally, but this is amazing. I mean, this is pretty incredible.
And they've not just beaten Australia, they have absolutely hammered them. They've won by 8 wickets with still close to 3 overs left. We said at halfway, was this going to be enough? 135 as a target, felt like they'd left a few out there. They didn't leave a few out there, Tash. They left a mountain out there.
Yeah, they've walloped the world champions. We said at the start, we said in our previews that it was going to take something exceptional to beat this unbelievably professional Australian side, but that's what South Africa have done today. They started so well in that first innings. Their fielding set the tone. They hunted that ball down in pairs. They bowled brilliantly. I thought the spinners came to the party tonight. They kind of shocked Australia to how well they bowled and they fielded, and then Australia were only able to get that 135. And then South Africa, they just came out with so much intent, but they didn't just try and thrash it to the boundary. They played so smartly. And then Annika Bosch, who has had a bit of a struggle in this tournament, she was just absolutely fantastic. She picked her moment. She came out from ball 1 with so much intent. And that's what you need to do to try and put this Australian side under pressure. That's what they did. They came out, I think the word that you used, Henry, was brave, and I think that sort of sums up their whole performance. It was so brave. They said that they were quietly confident coming into this game, but then it's all about, you know, you can say that as much as you like, but then they have executed on the biggest stage, and now they will have so much confidence, whoever they play in that final, either West Indies or New Zealand, they will have so much confidence after beating the world champions going into that final.
I think in a moment we're going to hear from Annika Bosch chatting to Kais Naidoo, but it's in comparison to the pride of South African sport, from what we've seen, it is a small thing. But for these players, it's equal prize money between the men's and women's game now. As finalists, potential winners, this is life-changing for that group of cricketers out there wearing the yellow and green uniforms. There is another shade of green and yellow down below us who are standing around. There are hugs. There will inevitably be questions, and there is a sense of bewilderment in the same way as 48 hours ago England could not believe they'd been knocked out by West Indies. Similarly, a team that has been in every final for the last 15 years have failed to make it beyond the final 4. It is quite extraordinary that South Africa have done this with such ease. 20 overs, they didn't need those. 135 the target, 17.2 overs is what it took, with Annika Bosch brilliant, scoring an unbeaten 74. It's a stellar innings.
Ladies and gentlemen, the player of the match tonight for unbeaten 74, 48 balls, 8 fours and 1 6 is South Africa's Annika Bosch. She receives her player of the match medallion from former England captain and chair of the ICC Women's Cricket Committee, Claire Connor. Congratulations to Annika Bosch.
Thank you.
Personal best in T20 international cricket, highest individual score at this tournament. Annika, how's your heart? How are you doing?
My heart is racing a lot, and it was quite tough out there, but I'm really glad we could get over the line. And yeah, that I could finally contribute with some runs.
You had a couple of starts in the tournament when Tasman Brits went out and you got out there in the middle. What was the chat between you and Laura?
Yeah, I think just to try and keep it simple and stick to what you know works, and what works in these conditions. Yeah, not overthink it, don't try too many things, and yeah, just play what the conditions allowed, and just stick to what you know.
Paul Adams in the huddle spoke to you about visualization. How much did that play a role in how you were able to focus in a game where you've never beaten Australia in a World Cup match?
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. His speeches before the game, I think, really psychs us up and just actually gets us focused and present for the game, and that we can focus on what we have to do for the day.
Into a second consecutive World Cup final for South Africa. What does that mean to you and the team?
Yeah, a lot. I can't really describe it, but yeah, we knew we were capable of it, and we had a pretty good tournament so far coming into this game, and we were quite confident. I think our batters, like Taz and Wolfie up front, has been incredible for us this tournament, and also our bowlers has been really, really good. And I think to restrict Australia to under 40 today was really well done by our bowlers.
How about that catch you took under pressure? Important to hold on to your catches.
Yeah, I'm just glad I held on to it. There was one against one of our previous games, similar catch that I dropped, so I'm glad I could take this one.
Finally, a message to the millions of South Africans back home in the Rainbow Nation that were supporting you all the way in this tournament. Still not done, but a message to them.
Yeah, just thanks a lot for their support. We really appreciate it, and we can feel it even when we're not here. And we just kind of remind ourselves about the feeling that we had at last year's World Cup when all our fans were actually there, and that incredible feeling. So we kind of tried to play for them and what we felt there.
Congratulations tonight. Our player of the match is Annika Bosch.
And rarely a more deserved recipient of that award. 74 from 48. Key catch in there as well. In a semi-final run chase, Tash, to go at a strike rate of 154. And we said this at the end. Bravery. It was brave throughout that innings. And, of course, you ride your luck a little bit. But they were sensational.
They were, and it's the way that she started. She would have known better than anyone that she hasn't fired in this tournament. You know, as a player, and, you know, so that pressure with each game that she wasn't getting past those slow starts, it would have been building and building and building. So just for her to be able to sort of shut that out, and that first couple of balls, she got the big sweep out. She ran really well. She fed off Laura Warbutt, who's been in brilliant form, but actually she made it so easy for Laura Warbutt by taking the pressure off her skipper. So the way that she started her innings was just brilliant, because that's not easy. It's easier said than done, because she would have had a lot of negative thoughts going in to that innings. So that is just the ultimate performance under huge pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can see that from a lot of the South African players. They're not a team really that relies on one or two individuals. We've been speaking a lot about Laura Wolfart and Tasman Brits, but there are other players who can perform when needed. We saw Nonkululeko Malaba, she had dropped way down the rankings. She was number 2 in the world and well into number 20 coming into this tournament, and she's really done a lot of work on her bowling and come back so strongly. We saw Annery Dirksen with a very quick fire 20 in the previous match, you know, really playing that finishing role. Maybe two who would want to look at their performances is Sune Lees and Chloe Tryon, but as a unit, South Africa are clicking so well. And I just think you're seeing what confidence does and what belief does. This is only the second time they've ever beaten Australia in a T20 international. The first time was earlier this year in January. So to be able to see that we can do it, they are beatable. These are important things. And, you know, there's that great saying, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And now South Africa can see it. And so maybe they can finally be it.
And they would have been watching that game here against England versus West Indies, and I do believe that they would have taken a lot of confidence from that West Indies win, because they would have seen how West Indies went hard at England. They were unbelievable with the bat, and I think South Africa would have thought, right, well, we can do that as well. A slightly harder task against the world champions, but, you know, if we are brave and we put these, you know, top teams under pressure, we can come out on top. So just really good to see for the women's game that there are going to be there's going to be a different team winning that trophy. So well played to South Africa. They were unbelievable. I guess Australia, they'll be absolutely gutted, but I think it was just with the bat in this game, they've been impeccable this tournament. They've been the standout team. They hadn't lost a game until this loss tonight. So they'll just be really disappointed about how they batted tonight.
Well, I think they will have to look at their approach as they did post-2017, the last time that they didn't make it through to a World Cup final that day at Derby, when Harmanpreet Kaur played in a similarly bold and refreshing way. And after that, Australia said, we realise we have to change our approach. It felt in this game that they didn't know quite how to go through the gears. And it was a very peculiar first innings. 134 for 8 is more understandable in some ways than 134 for 5, because they just were so timid in those middle overs. It was a very peculiar performance.
That they were timid. I do think South Africa bowled really well, but actually it didn't even look like they were trying to hit those boundaries. I think you just take an example. We know how Beth Mooney bats. She's one of the best in the world, but someone like Grace Harris in this tournament hasn't actually been going too far above 100 strike rate, but you see her all around the world. She plays a completely different game. So maybe is that an example that she feels that she can't play her really sort of full-blooded way that she normally plays around the world. So that, yeah, you're right, Henry, they will have a look about how they went about that set, because they were well under par. They still had Annabelle Sutherland, Sophie Molyneux in the shed, so it's not like they had to conserve wickets, but they just weren't able to get that strike rate up. And I think that that will be playing on their mind for a very long time, about how they went about it with the bat, because you could understand, if they were really going for it and then they kept losing wickets and they had to sort of slow down, but they were never in that they were never in that sort of place. They always had wickets in hand. They had so much batting to come, but it's just the way that they went about it.
They weren't brave enough, and I would stand by that, and I would absolutely be asking Talia McGrath that question. Mel Jones is about to speak to the Australian stand-in captain, and I think Alyssa Healy was missed in terms of the attitude at the top of the order as much as she was the leadership, because I think that they looked timid from the off, Australia, and they've probably, a bit like England against West Indies, have been able to get away with playing at 80% and beating teams because they are better and have, over the course of the last few years had greater strength. But sometimes you need to be bolder, as well as having the resource and the talent. You need to have bravery. Let's hear from the captains.
Thank you so much. Joined by Talia McGrath. Talia, this is an experience not often felt by the Australian team. I know it's very fresh at the moment, but what's the underlying emotion for you?
It's going to be pretty hard to take. We just didn't really show up tonight, and you can't afford to do that in tournaments like this. And full credit to South Africa. I think they outplayed us tonight, and like I said, we just weren't at our best.
Preparation for Australia has probably been the hallmark over the last couple of years. When you look, even before getting to the ground today, did you feel as if everything was sort of, shaping up nicely?
Yeah, we've had this World Cup in our minds for a very long time now. We worked really hard over the off-season, fine-tuning some things. We were really well prepped coming into here. I felt like we left no stone unturned. Just, didn't show up on the night.
Lost the toss, had to bat first on that pitch. We sort of jokingly said 160, 170 by other teams on the same strip. It wasn't quite that kind of deck this evening. How did you think you went about trying to get that total on the board?
Yeah, we found it quite tricky, and South Africa bowled really well. They just held stump line and took the pace off nicely, and made it hard for us to take risks. The halfway mark there, we thought maybe 140, 150 was par, and fell short, and South Africa made it look like a totally different wicket. They batted really well.
So often I think a lot of people talk about the Australian side and why they have been so good, and it's always often about finding a solution with the ball when their backs are against the wall. How many sort of plans did you go through in your mind and talk with other senior players?
Yeah, we were trying to keep it really simple on that wicket. We mis-executed a little bit, just off our best, and got punished. Tried to wrestle the momentum back, or we just kept saying couple wickets, couple of overs, and we'll swing it back, but unfortunately couldn't do that.
Just a couple of words on a few players in the side. I sort of go the bookends of careers. You've got someone like Megan Shute, who just turns up to World Cups and takes wickets for fun. Then you've got someone young and upcoming like Annabelle Sutherland as well.
Yeah, that's right. Shooter's been huge for us this tournament. She leads from the front with the ball. She takes poles for fun. And then you look at some of our youngsters in Bells and Phoebes, and the future's certainly bright for our side.
Don't poke the bear. What's for Australia in the future? You got your eyes on 2026 already?
Absolutely. But look, we've got a really big summer to finish off first, and there's so much cricket to play. There's always something next on the calendar.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Here comes Laura Wolfart.
Before this game, you said Australia was your hurdle. Well, you didn't hurdle them, you absolutely pole vaulted them. Is that the best ever win by South Africa?
Yeah, I think it's right up there. I think this is one of the best wins of my cricketing career for sure. A couple of other girls have said it as well. I think that was such an amazing chase. Annika batted excellently, bowlers did excellent, so yeah.
You've found a little bit of a formula, haven't you? This year alone, you've beaten them twice now in T20s. First time ever in a World Cup, also in an ODI as well. What is it that you've brought out in this team?
I think it's been a good year for us. I think it's been a real collective group effort. I think obviously with them being the side that they are and always winning, you're always looking at ways to sort of find a bit of a weakness. So maybe spend a bit more time analysing them than other teams. I'm glad some of the plans worked today, and I felt like our bowlers did excellently to restrict them.
There was no backward step. When the batters came out, first balls from new bowlers being brought on by Talia McGrath, you really took it up to each and every bowler.
Yeah, I think we didn't have the best first 2 overs of the game, and then Taz and I just had a chat in the middle and said we have to put our foot down, we have to get ahead of this rate early, and then Annika played her role perfectly. I think she just needs to give us that sort of kick in the innings from over 6 to 12, and that's exactly what she did today.
She missed out on the 2022 World Cup with that fractured thumb. Didn't play much of a role in the last T20, but that as an innings for the ages, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the best of her career, and what a time to bring it out.
Got a favourite for the semi-final tomorrow? Got a preference for who you'd like to play in the final?
I really don't know. I think both of those sides are really destructive on their day. Obviously, West Indies look a bit dangerous at the moment, but you can never count out, Kerr and Devine, so we'll have a look.
handy crowd here in Dubai. Who would have thought?
Yeah, not bad. Clearly a lot of South Africans here.
Okay, let's get them out on Sunday as well. Wonderful win, congratulations. You're through to your second World Cup final.
Thank you.
Indeed. Australia beaten by South Africa, led by the inspirational Laura Wolfart, who played her part, 42 from 37. Tash Farron's still alongside me, and while, of course, the story and the night belongs to South Africa, there'll be a few England players heading home tonight thinking, goodness me, what a chance.
Yeah, I think it will make them feel probably even worse than they already are. Obviously, the England girls are absolutely gutted to be on that flight home already. They wanted to go into this tournament to win it, and now that they see that their arch nemesis Australia are out, it will probably make it feel even worse. I don't know if it can feel worse, but I'm sure it definitely won't help. So yeah, I just think from West Indies, obviously against England, they came out there with a punch. They were so brave, and then South Africa, they did the same thing to the world champions, and it's just really amazing to see her. And I think that was a really good interview from Wolfart. I think she's such a calm character. She obviously is absolutely buzzing, but even in her interview, she stays nice and calm. And what I took from that is actually, they actually said that they prepare slightly more for Australia because they know how good they are. They obviously came up with really clear plans, and you can come up with the plans, but you have to execute it. And then also she said that the first 2 overs didn't go to plan with the bat, but then her and Tasmin Brits had a conversation. They were like, right, we need to take this game by the scruff of the neck, and we need to make sure that we get above that rate, and that's what they did. And then Annika Bosch probably played one of the best innings that she'll ever play in her career, 74 of 48, and so well done South Africa. They came into this underdogs, but as she said at the toss, they were quietly confident with the year that they've had, and now they're making their second consecutive T20 World Cup final.
We said ahead of this tournament it'll be Australia, England or India.
Yeah, we couldn't be more wrong.
There's 3 teams left in the tournament. None of them are Australia, India or England, and that, for the world game, is a great thing.
It is a really good thing, because actually I think people were starting to get a little bit worried, but actually, with the domestic structures underneath India, Australia and England, was that going to make it even harder for the teams that are slightly below that to sort of get anywhere near to competing? But we were completely wrong. I guess in, World Cups, it is literally, in knockout cricket, it is about whoever turns up on the day. And maybe for the likes of, the West Indies, New Zealand and South Africa, that lack of expectation actually gives them a little bit of freedom just to go out there with almost less to lose, because people do expect the likes of India, England and Australia, one of them, to win these tournaments. So maybe for the teams just below, that just kind of freed them up a little bit, and that's exactly what they've done. They played braver cricket than those top 3, and they also executed, because you need to plan and you need to do everything right, but then you have to do it out there on the biggest stage. And those 3 teams, they've done it the best, and that's why South Africa are through to the final, and then we'll see out of the West Indies and New Zealand who will be playing them.
We're going to have a new winner, and that's exciting. For the first time in Women's World Cup history, either format, we're going to see a final without Australia or England.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
It's amazing, and for so long we've spoken about this big gap, and it might exist in certain ways, but goodness me, what a statement it has been from South Africa.
And also, hopefully that there is going to be a new winner, and there's obviously different teams to what we expected in those semi-finals. Hopefully that will sort of springboard their domestic structures. Whoever wins this tournament, hopefully that leads to their boards actually thinking, right, we are going to invest in this team because we've shown what we can do. If we put even more funding, if we really get a good domestic structure underneath that, imagine what we can do from that. So that's what you hope as sort of a person who, is so invested in the women's game. You hope that these teams, all of the teams, can get really good funding from their boards and also the domestic structures underneath that, because that's ultimately what leads to sort of longevity and success for teams.
Third highest score in a Women's T20 World Cup run chase, Annika Bosch. That's 74 not out. It has been the innings of her career to date. She's down there on the boundary edge, continuing her media duties. Should we do it all again tomorrow? Find out who they're playing?
Yeah, that was fun. That was exciting, and that's what we want to see. We want to see really good games of cricket, attacking styles of play. We're going to Sharjah tomorrow. I have no idea who's going to win that one because I've called it all wrong.
We've called it all wrong all tournament, so there we go. Thank you, Tash Farron, who's been part of our team here in Dubai on an historic night. It has been remarkable to see Australia beaten quite so comfortably. None of us expected that. It's an Aussie team whose kit bags lie on their own by the boundary edge. I can see down there a member of the Australian team, I think it's Elise Perry, deep in conversation with one of the coaching staff. And this Australian team looking to make it 7 T20 World Cup titles. Well, they're not going to be doing that. They're heading home at the knockout stage, the first knockout stage, the semi-final, and what disappointment that will be for them. They're a brilliant side. They'll come back and they'll be in action against England in the new year in the Women's Ashes. You'll hear all of that on Test Match Special, BBC Sounds and 5 Sports Extra tomorrow morning. Here on 5 Sports Extra, we will be bringing you the final day, one way or the other, of the Test match between England and Pakistan. Fascinatingly poised. It is a pitch that I think day 9, is it now, this pitch? Well, either way, England will get underway with a pretty big task ahead of them. 261 runs to win. They're 2 down at 36 for 2 stumps on the 3rd day. So do join Jonathan Agnew and the team tomorrow morning, 5:45. We will be back here tomorrow afternoon from 2:45 for the second semi-final, West Indies against New Zealand. And in the meantime, if you need some more cricket, there's a new episode of No Balls to Cricket podcast available for you to enjoy. Kate Cross and Alex Hartley with that. That's on BBC Sounds via the Test Match Special stream. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodness knows what to expect tomorrow. This tournament has provided some shocks, some thrills and spills over the last few nights, and what a treat it has been to bring it to you. Thanks for joining us. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks to our colleagues there from the BBC. Not to be for Australia. Out at the semi-final stage. South Africa going through to the final. And if you want to find out who they'll be playing, you can come back tomorrow night, the ABC Listen app, ABC Sport Digital Radio, and you can find out who wins through between the West Indies and New Zealand to make it through to the final to take on South Africa. That was a stunning performance by Annika Bosch in particular. 74 of 48 deliveries to secure South Africa's passage through to the final. It's been a good run for Australia, but they can't defend their title. They go out at the semi-final stage. Thanks for your company this evening. We'll return you now to the rest of Sport Digital's programming through the morning, and I think you'll catch up with Jim Maxwell reliving some of his early years in just a moment. Enjoy the rest of your day.